It's that time again, everybody. It is ICL on a Wednesday. We've got the Lorcana Loungers versus the Lords of Lore. And today I am joined by someone who doesn't have a clue. Who knows? They might even be on one of the teams we're watching. They're not playing.
No, not me. No, not me. I have no bias in these matches at all. I'm not rooting for any particular team.
You're a liar. You're definitely like I openly rooted for Maelstrom every time they played. Like you're allowed to be biased. It's something we're allowed to do.
I did text the round 1 and round 2 players on my team, and I said, please don't disappoint me when I'm casting.
It's like, I'm going to be casting. You can't lose. You have to win on
I
stream.
don't. Honestly, it's not even win or lose. Just please don't misplay. Please don't have to have me explain a dramatic misplay that you made.
You don't want those messages like, "Bruh, I saw your team. Like, put me in, coach. Put me in, coach." Like,
yeah. Well, I still remember the first time we were on stream for ICL. I think we forgot 15 Willow triggers, and
15?
It was tough to watch.
15?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of Willow triggers. You know, Willow is not broken if you never trigger her.
I feel like when Willow first came out, we were all like, I'll activate my, like, you had to announce you were activating it or something.
Trigger.
Instead of it being like, no, it happens at the first, you have to do it right away, the first character you play.
Yep. I have got a couple people with that. Yes, it was easy to forget. Especially, I mean, many times if you have the ink, you don't think about it, but then you maybe play it and then you have to play something else and you're like, oh, I don't have enough ink. And you're like, you would have had to trigger your Willow. Yeah.
So, I'm assuming for predictions, you are predicting a 3-0 Loungers sweep.
Of course. Oh, wait.
Of course.
3-0 Lords of Lore, baby. 3-0 Lords of Lore. Woo, 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 woo. I gotta put my eggs in one basket.
You don't have a really cool Discord that everyone's in, so...
I do. It's actually more exclusive.
Wow, more exclusive than the Loungers. People have DM'd me asking for invites to that server. Multiple people.
I haven't.
That's a good thing. I don't like it when people DM me asking to get into someone else's server. It's like, I am not associated with the server.
You're like, this is not my problem. I am just here for fun and vibes. I only run ICL. Everything else is not my business.
Yeah. Not my business.
So what are you excited to see today? What do you want to be?
Well, yesterday I felt like I was just treated to a treat. It was just like constant Emerald Steel touch the sky shenanigans, if only it had one more.
I have heard, but that is an incredibly fun deck.
Have you not been testing that in your group? Are we not going to see it tonight?
I can't say that. I have not tested that particular deck. I like to base my fun off how I have played and what I have played. I have not played the one with Touch the Sky. I played a very bad version without that. And then I gave up on Emerald Steel and I said,
I was going to say, so you played the tempo-ish version.
Yes. With the Rapunzel Flynn situation. I mean, it's not bad. But it is not up to snuff.
I'm going to let you talk to chat for a second while I...
Okay. Awesome. This is not the first time that Luke has left me with chat, even though I don't have chat open. So I cannot see what y'all are saying. But I'm very excited. I think it's going to be me and Willowbees up in round 1, which will be getting started in a couple minutes. Super, super excited. Was at Gen Con and saw a lot of different little decks this weekend. So I'm curious to see what we will see today. Obviously, I know what we're playing, but what we're playing against and into, and how some of our spice ends up working out today. What, again, I can't see chat, but what are the decks that y'all have been feeling this week? And maybe when Luke comes back, he can tell me what y'all said. Well, I was instructed at one point to not have chat open, so I don't have chat open. I see. I'm so sorry, chat. I have let you down. Um, and Luke, that's on me, not on you. Everyone makes mistakes. And I've never looked at chat until after. And then I go, "Ooh, I wish I had seen that." You need to pretend. Wait, these are the texts. Alright, hang on, I gotta go open chat. How much time do we have? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Don't do it. Don't
Oh,
do that.
I've been muted the whole time. Oh my goodness. I
Oh!
only partially unmuted. I unmuted to talk to you, so they got to hear half that. That's fine. I said a lot of terrible things. I burned a lot of bridges, and no one will know. No one will know. But here, Willow's going to be jumping in to replace me as we jump to the action. And is the caster curse fully gone? We shall see if the loungers can take down the Lords of Lore.
No, no, no. No, no, no.
Oh,
Incorrect. Hello, how are
we're here.
you?
I'm doing great. ICL on a Wednesday. Gotta love the ICL on a Wednesday. I'm excited to be watching Brayden versus Muhammad. Tell me about Muhammad since this is your teammate. Give us a little
Yeah.
bit of player facts here.
Okay, so my favorite thing about Mohammed is that actually two of our ICL players, Mohammed and Nick, they actually work together. And so they do play every lunch break. Every lunch break, they bring different decks and they test. So I'm sure that he was run through the ringer today at lunch. And I'm curious if he made any changes based on what happened. I will say Nick has a really good lunch record over Mohammed. So I'm
Wow.
hoping that he got some wins today to boost his confidence up.
Okay, that's fun little lore there. On the other side,
Yes.
Brayden of the Loungers, really notorious in the community. So, not much to say. Great player. Excited to see what he's playing. Recently did pretty well, top 8 at the Inc 3K. So both these players should be nice and warmed up. Muhammad at lunch, Brayden at a tournament, and both are valid. Okay, there's lots of ways to play
both are
Lorcana, folks.
both are incredibly valid and just as stressful, I think. I think they have equal levels of stress.
Absolutely,
Because
no, for
that
sure.
tournament, you're playing for money, but you have to see your coworker at
Yeah,
lunch the next day and
it's
know how
true.
badly you messed up.
Listen, grudges are a real thing. I hold
But
them
yeah,
frequently.
yes, yes. Especially in Lorcana.
Yeah,
Especially in Lorcana.
absolutely. I think coconut format is going to bring a whole lot more grudges as well. So it's going to be really
I
funny to see.
did make my partner play, and he did not have a good time.
Oh no! You built a very mean deck, didn't you?
Yeah. I didn't build it. I took it from a friend. Yeah, it was mean. He did not have a good time. He did not have a good time.
All
So I
right.
agree.
Well,
All right,
here we
what's
can
happening on the
see.
screen?
You know, he's gonna fix it, but yeah, riveting gameplay on the screen now. But I think we're about ready to get started. So best of luck to both teams. We're off to the
And
races
it
here.
looks like Mohammed is up first and is gonna ink and then play a Louisa down. Pass it over to Brayden.
So we're seeing some amethysts here. Pretty interesting. Excited to see what this could be paired with. But emerald
And
on the other side.
oh, and we do see an amber emerald, and we do see that Malin that sing together. So probably gonna be maybe a circle of life situation, but could also be the aggro.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you there with the Circle of Life. This is the deck that Brayden piloted to that top 8. And then we're seeing Ruby Amethyst on the other side. So Ruby Amethyst, a build that has been gaining popularity, and Circle of Life, probably the most dominating deck in the format right now. So I'm excited to see these two kind of titans fighting to show off which actually has the best tricks up their sleeve.
And this Ruby Amethyst really crushed it at Gen Con CCQ. The two top decks were Ruby Amethyst with these Peter Pan Tinkerbell evasives. So really excited to see what happens here. And then we do see on Braden's side, we ink the Prince Philip, play down that Willow, and then we do play down the Aurora for future cheating out some characters.
Yeah, so it's an interesting line here for Braden, with the Grandmother Willow into the Aurora opening there. We're not quite at that Singer 8 sweet spot, and we're also not showing things like in Ursula Vanessa to just have a little bit more Singer presence on the board. But we're still developing plenty of bodies. The Grandmother Willow is always great to have out. But seeing this Cheshire Cat on the other side can be a little scary. So both players just building up their board here, trying to get set up for that mid game.
Yep, and we love that Cheshire Cat when we're playing Amethyst. We hate to see it when we are playing against it, especially when we have these Willows and these Auroras that are such great targets to just hit down. And Mohammed is going to go ahead and quest with his Peter Pan, going to 2 lore, it looks like, and then passing it over to Braden. And I do know that this Louisa, her shift is so good that you really do want to protect it, particularly because she has that challenger. So it makes sense to kind of hold that. But your Peter Pan, maybe you're a little less worried about. And then we see Dale gets inked. And then another, this is our searching Malin. I'm going to look at those top 4 and see if there's either a red panda or a song available, and ends up taking the Malin there.
Feels so good to always have that extra insurance. If you don't find a song, you can grab a red panda. Would have liked it to be another Malin Lee losing control, but at least we put a card back into our hand. That Malin Lee did replace itself in some form or fashion. And with a deck like this that's trying to get to that circle of life, the more singers with Sing Together, the better. So now Braden's board's looking a lot wider here. And Mohammed's he's going to want to try to get an exert effect here. Perfect with this Isis Vanderbilt.
The Isis. All Isis. They always have her on. They always had the Elsa on 5. Now they always have the Isis on 4. And I think Mohammed is looking at what he wants to exert here.
Yeah, gonna think through the considerations. 2 Grandmother Willows is not what you want to see, but also seeing some of that singing power in the Malin Lees. But yeah, gonna have to get those Grandmother Willows off the board because you don't want to double discount. This can really just allow Braden to continue to accelerate into even bigger characters without even needing that circle of life. So yeah, gonna very cleanly get a Grandmother Willow off of the board. And a damage floating around for later. Hopefully we can stack up to use with that Cheshire Cat.
And that does make a lot of sense, especially because it kind of, at this point, because of that double Willow, they are going to be able to sing their 8 costs no matter what Mohammed took out. So might as well take out that Willow. That's just going to let Braden continue to flood this board. And then we do see the Tide go down, which is going to allow Braden to draw some cards and discard some cards. So filter through his deck, and then also works great with that Circle of Life. Put some potentially bigger characters back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to want to be putting, depending on the build, things like Milo Thatch, Prince Philip into the discard pile there. Braden's still taking a think on this, but also have to consider, it's not just about cheating your own big characters out. This Ruby Amethyst deck, as we get the Under the Sea going into the discard there, this Ruby Amethyst deck can go pretty wide and pretty evasive very quickly. So going to have to consider what options he might have in hand for board wipes outside of that Under the Sea, as a lot of these characters are going to be heavier statted bodies.
100%. And it's going to be, you can see even with the current board that Mohammed has, I mean, he could potentially sing that Under the Sea, but he's only going to take out the Peter Pan and the Louisa, and then he's going to get hit back, maybe some Cheshire Cat effects as well, to lose a lot of pieces on his board. So that exertion for that Under the Sea is just not as worth it as it might be into, say, like the Mirror, Aggro, or other decks that, have Willow or things with that lower willpower.
a battle of standing tall here. And, neither character gonna want to exert if they don't have to. But this feels advantageous, right? Getting to play that Colors of the Wind. Hopefully, some card draw there. Revealing the Surfer Stitch for Braden, knowing that's coming off the top. That's
And
a scary card to see.
That's a scary card to see. I hate to see it. I hate to see it with Colors Wind, with Mike Wazowski, with when they play it on the board.
Yeah, I mean, and you know that Braden soon is going to have enough ink for it. With the Grandmother Willows, we have 6 ink total. So he can ink to have the 7 next turn. So knowing that is potentially coming, plus all of the other cards that Braden also has in hand. But Muhammad responding with something like this Scrooge McDuck, Ghostly Ebenezer. I believe that is. It's a little blurry on my screen, but I believe that's what's down there.
He did boost it as well. It was a 2-drop and a boost.
Gonna try to start getting some, like I said, higher statted characters to potentially clear out this board should it exert in the ways that you were talking about earlier.
And I think it's also really helpful to, even though that Cheshire Cat is not going to move the full damage, it's still nice to boost these characters because that Scrooge is really annoying. That Cheshire Cat is really annoying. And if Braden has Milo and does return any of those to Mohammed's hand, he's going to get all those cards underneath. So when he can boost, if it's worth it, it is like kind of a secondary gambling card draw for Mohammed as well. And then we do see the Surfer Stitch go down. We knew it was coming. We saw it. And of course, Braden has an army of characters and does get the 2 cards off that.
One thing to note about Braden's deck, at least in prior iterations, I'm not sure what he's on today, but again, based on what I've known him to be playing at, the Ink tournament, I do believe we should fear the Prince Philip combo in addition to this Under the Sea. And that is something that can really give Braden an edge here, because we do see, while Muhammad's board is not as wide as Braden's, he is slowly building up a lot of things, doing things like boosting, this Scrooge McDuck, being able to boost off any potential damage, with this Cheshire Cat. And so Braden being able to find a Prince Philip and a Malicious, Mean, and Scary, regardless of how we get there, having 2 Grandmother Willows on the board, going to be able to just play it without even needing the Circle of Life, having plenty of singers for that Malicious, Mean, and Scary. This could be bad for Muhammad. So, seeing him exert here, seeing him try to get his lore where he can, kind of forcing Braden to respond earlier than he may want to, is kind of going to be the game plan here. And he's hoping that this pays off and Braden doesn't just have it already in hand, because he did draw 2 cards off of that Surfer Stitch earlier.
Yes, and we did see with the Colors of the Wind that Braden did reveal that Mean and Scary. So I think what you're saying makes sense all the time. You always have to know the combos that could hit you, but especially true when you see half of the combo on the top of their deck. And then is that another Surfer Stitch? Is that another glared
That's
Surfer
hard to see, but it did look like he drew 2 cards there. So
it did look, yes.
Yeah,
and he did do a little hand gesture. Yeah. I believe that's another Surfer Stitch.
It is. It's another.
It is. Oh, Surfer Stitch into Surfer Stitch is what you want to see when you have Surfer Stitches. Yeah, let me tell you.
That's going to be difficult
when you're Muhammad.
Yeah. It's going to be very scary for Muhammad to see on the other side. Again, just like such a well-statted character, that 4 willpower, allowing it to. Luke is talking to the players, telling them to help with the lighting situation. But yeah, I mean, that perfect, 4 stat line kind of protecting itself in the amber mirrors. But even against this deck, this Ruby Amethyst deck, having that 8 willpower does make it a difficult challenge even with the Cheshire Cat boost, thinking back to days of, the library in Queen's Castle, that, 7 or even 8 willpower on those locations. Now we have that on a body that can quest for 2 and sing songs and draws us cards when it comes into play. So very scary to see on the other side. Is that 2 Malicious, Mean, and Scaries in the discard? Did he?
Yes.
That is 2.
It is. Yes. That's an interesting. Oh, he played both of them. I see. He's sung with both of them. So he has part of the combo, but it does look like he's trying to get a couple trades off by singing those 2 songs, and then potentially hitting some of the other characters. Looks like he is able to remove the Scrooge, which is great because as that continues to boost, Scrooge can go toe to toe with a Surfer Stitch if he has enough boosts underneath him.
And look at
So
that
get
card
that
underneath
early.
there, that Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, which would
Yes.
give all of his characters
And a
evasives.
Dumbo.
Such a key card in this deck to really stop your opponent from being able to have any interaction. And now in the discard pile, look at this cleanup, leaving only the Cheshire Cat. Sure, with some damage floating around, but to my point earlier, with that Surfer Stitch having 5 damage on it, we can boost the 2 damage off of this Cheshire Cat, and still that Surfer Stitch is hanging around. Not to mention the other one on the board. So Braden's
The
looking
other one
very
on the
dominant here.
board. Yes. And inking the Philip, which is crazy. He's like, I don't even need the combo. I'll just handle your bodies the old-fashioned way, which is wild.
Borderline
against the
disrespectful to double
It
swing
is!
Malicious Mean and Scary and then play the Prince Philip. Or to ink the Prince Philip. That is
Clearing the board?
that's not right. That's not right.
That's not
That's
right.
just some disrespect.
After clearing the Ruby Amethyst, which has bodies for days, big bodies, that's got to be tough. The only
Yeah,
thing that
it's
would be
a-
worse. Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I apologize. It's a difficult situation for Muhammad here. He's going to be looking to rebuild, but also has to be aware all the while that one, Braden is about to put on the lore pressure exponentially. But on the other side, has plenty of cards in hand to presumably deal with anything that Muhammad can play. And so it's kind of this weird, balancing act here where he has to play characters that he believes are going to be able to stick on the board. Maybe that is going to be things with a little bit of a higher willpower. So even if Braden has something like a Lost in the Woods, plus the Under the Sea, it still can't reach them. But even if he doesn't think that he's on it, clearly the way that he's using his Prince Philip into the Inkwell, the way that he's using the Malicious Mean Scary into the discard, Braden is playing as if he's going to have answers to anything that Muhammad can do. So Muhammad here taking a moment, looking at all of his ink and trying to figure out where can I go with this so that way I don't just get controlled into the end of the game and Braden just quests and quests and quests.
100%. And that is why this Circle of Life is such a challenging deck to play into, because it has that early kind of cheating out of characters with the Willow, but then once you are cheating out, unlike the aggro version, you do have these larger characters that just have such a board presence that can still compete with the Ruby and Amethyst characters that are often, should get a better trade or are made to get a better trade into Amber characters.
Yeah, absolutely. That Demona can help with the extra trade, but another Surfer Stitch. Oh goodness. There's too many Surfer Stitches on the board. We don't have enough surfboards for all of these stitches here.
There's not enough ocean in the ocean. My advice to Muhammad right now would be sorry, bud. That was good try. Proud of you.
And look at this from Braden. I believe this is just a full quest from everything that we can. We see this Demona, betrayer of the clan, on the other side can challenge, nice stats there, right? Challenger +2, so it's a 6/6.
Yep.
But again, with things like this Surfer Stitch, sure, you can maybe take the one that's already damaged, but if you're swinging into that, fresh Surfer Stitch there, still not going to be enough. It's going to take both of our characters to really get the most meaningful things off the board. So maybe Muhammad is going to go for some small cleanup here, things like these Malin Lees, things like this Grandmother Willow. But if you're doing that, you're exerting your characters, leaving them exposed to these bigger challenges. But here we go. It looks like we are going to do some boosting
And you make a great point, because also Mohammed only has 2 characters to challenge with. So even if you start cleaning up the smaller characters, you do just have the
Thank you.
opportunity for those stitches to smack back, and they're still going to be sticking around, and you're kind of going to have nothing.
Quick note from production: we weren't boosting just yet. We were fixing the Cheshire Cat. Looks like we had boosted last turn or something, and maybe forgot to put a card there. So before the draw came through, we just wanted to make sure everything is right. So the board state should be correct and accurate. We have some of the best lore guides around right here in the ICL. Shout out to our judges. Thank you for and our lore guides. Specifically, I believe lore guide Ellie is head judge for the ICL, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so everything is correct and up to date. Ellie and John. So shout out.
Shout out. Couldn't do it without him.
No, really. Really could not. Okay, now we're getting things started.
Now we're challenging. And we are going to take out the injured, which is an interesting choice. And it does look like he's considering. It is an interesting choice. Because
there's a lot of considerations, because like I said, the boosting from the Cheshire Cat isn't quite enough. So unless we want to get rid of our Cheshire Cat by swinging in, which we don't want to do, right? So it's kind of a sticky spot for Mohammed, and I think it makes total sense for him to be slowing this down and really figuring out where he wants to take those favorable trades.
That is 100% correct. And I think this boost here from the Cheshire is going to be very important as well, to figure out what he can remove from this board, and then deciding, this Cheshire Cat can do a lot of work potentially. If you have other characters that can challenge, or you're going to play other characters, clean some of the damage up, but then you're not challenging into some of the other lore pressure on the board.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tough spot. But yeah, I mean, going to opt in to exert this Cheshire Cat. I wasn't sure if Mohammed was going to do it, but this might be one of those things where he's just feeling the pressure, feeling like he has to get it off of the board. The difficult thing about this Demona as well is that Challenger +2, means she did challenge in for 6, but unfortunately, is only going to be in this next turn. When she gets challenged, she's only going to deal 4 back, right? And so that also makes it a little bit more difficult. But look at this. This is a good start, right? The Scrooge Puck slowly being able to boost up every turn, and will be a 5/5 by next turn, which is when we can challenge with it, to hopefully help out. And so it's going to be interesting to see if Brayden is going to challenge into this Cheshire Cat, really.
And I think playing into Amber, this was also a really tough choice, because Mohammed could have challenged into an undamaged Stitch potentially, and then moved 2 of the damage over to fully remove that Stitch. Oh my gosh.
Adding insult to injury here.
There's too many stitches.
Adding insult to injury here. That is technically all 4 Surfer Stitch, but not really, because it came from the discard pile. So Brayden might get to play 5.
Yeah, he might play an endless amount. But I do think you also have to respect the Ohana. You're not sure if they play that. And so that 5 damage on the Stitch, I'm sure that Mohammed was considering whether he had to remove that and then do some clean removal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Kind of nothing.
It's a really difficult spot, because there are so many things to play around, and there's so many different versions of these lists, and some people are on a 1 of Ohana, some people are on none at all, some people are got like 2 or 3 of them in there, and it makes it really difficult, especially when teams know for the ICL, there you could do some scouting. So maybe Brayden throws some Ohanas in his list, throw some people off, and then you just get insane value off of these Surfer Stitches. But we live to see another day without the Ohana happen. And we do have some board presence here, but I think losing that Cheshire Cat is gonna be a little bit difficult for Mohammed. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Hopefully,
maybe 3 Cheshire Cats.
to match with the 4.
Those are Just as good
Surfer
as the Surfer Stitches, maybe?
Maybe. Taking a think on what we're going to exert with this Isis Vanderchill. We get that Eleanor up on out of here. We don't want to see it at all. But targeting that Eleanor leaves these Surfer Stitches on the board, which is pretty significant. Like, I understand why you target the Eleanor. You know, you don't want your opponent drawing more cards, gaining more lore, and pinging your characters. But, you know, especially when your Demona's going all the way up to, you know, 5 damage. She's a breath from Eleanor away. But it's also tough because then you're leaving those giant singable and questable 2-questers on the board.
And Braden is in the lead and has, what do we think? 6, 7, 8, 9, gonna go up to 18. I mean, at this point, he can start just kind of out racing Mohammed.
No, I totally agree. Braden, you know, probably sees the writing on the wall, but, you know, Mohammed putting in a valiant fight here, you know, continuing to, is that a Prince Philip?
They do see the Prince Philip come down, doesn't even do the mean and scary, just wipes out those 2 characters and is able to quest.
Yeah, free quest here for Braden feels pretty good. As you mentioned, shooting up to 17 to be able to get rid of the Malin Lee there, leaving only 2 characters on Mohammed's side. And here's the thing, Mohammed was looking okay. Yeah, as we get the scoop coming in, Mohammed was looking okay. It was never great, but like, you know, having those 4 characters, you know, being aware of the Demona, being a 6/6 challenger, you know, would have to at least throw something into it if he didn't want to keep it on the board. You know, having that Scrooge McDuck continually to be boosted. There was like a very small window where Mohammed could try to make a go of it. And I think Braden just kind of really sealing the deal, saying he wants absolutely no chance for Mohammed to come back into this game, playing that Prince Philip. And yeah, I mean, Mohammed being able to call it. But you know what? We've gotten a peek at the deck. Both players now know what they are up against and are going to get a chance to try it again.
Mulligan, maybe a little bit different for what they need, and see if he can maybe, and unfortunately for Mohammed, that was his on the play game. So he is going to have to win on the play, which was tough, and then win on the draw. But I believe, I believe, I have no doubt.
If there's a will, there's a way. But yeah, gonna be looking for some different things in the altar. I think one thing that Mohammed is going to want to be able to do is, you know, of course, some of these, you know, depending on the build of the Ruby Amethyst deck, can kind of really start to go quick. You have some of those early shifters, you know, with things like the Louisa Madrigal, you know, it's just a nice big body. You have things like the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, you know, to get a 2-quester in there. So you have ways to kind of like get these things that have some staying power and kind of just aggro out, or get your just little bodies on the board and aggro out that way. But, you know, you also want to be mindful of your exert effects. We saw that Isis Vanderchill come out on 4. Tends to be a nice, you know, turn 4 play, hopefully to get some singers off the board. But it's one of those things where Braden can just, there's a world where Braden just sees every single opener and every single singer that he needs. And it really makes it difficult for Mohammed here. So more exert effects is what we're hoping to see from Mohammed
more
here.
Exert effects. More removal potentially if he is playing that red alert. That could be really helpful to potentially slow down, or that Isis on 4, just get some of those characters. And he also still has to keep in mind to respect that Under the Sea, like you're saying, because a lot of his early characters, if he does not get the shift off on them, are just going to be swept up under the sea with that song. So he really has to kind of try to maybe gamble for some of those shifts that are going to stick on the board, and then just be able to really do a lot of pressure if Braden does end up exerting.
And I think what's difficult is, you know, looking at what we saw from Mohammed, we didn't see a ton of characters on the board, but we didn't see a lot of 2-questers. So if Mohammed is less on this sort of evasive aggro shell and is a little bit more on a control-y sort of just, you know, strong characters, being able to combat the board where challenge matters, I think that's actually a little bit of a difficult build into Circle of Life, right? You take that for some something
Yep.
like aggro.
Yep.
But because Braden's on this Circle of Life, it's going to be a lot harder because I think Braden is just ultimately the better control deck in terms of what the decks are built to do. And so it might be also just a think of matchup roulette here and Muhammad not seeing what he really wants to on the other side of the play table.
And I think, speaking about better control decks, having 2 removal, board-wide removal makes you a great control deck. That really helps your control. And Crazy Red has no real board removal. But that's a conversation for another time. We don't have to talk about Ruby and their struggles today because we are going to see Braden inking and then playing the Bobby and already putting that Prince Philip ready in the discard.
Yeah, right.
And on Muhammad's side,
right where he wants to be.
Get him in the discard. That's where he should be. And Muhammad got his Scrooge down, which I think is actually great. It's a good 2 cost. Doesn't get hit by Under the Sea and can really start to build up that board.
Seeing this Thomas come down for Braden is super exciting because one thing that this Thomas is great for is challenging once you have a Dale in play. So, not the best singer, but also, another way that potentially this deck can do some controlling is if Muhammad is going to start, looking to see those exert effects like Isis Vanderchill, if we can respond with a Dale ready for his shot of our own, in response on turn 4, then it makes it a lot harder for Muhammad to banish our characters in a favorable way.
And I was just going to say, I 100% agree. And I would have some questions there. Muhammad did end up questing with that Scrooge. You often feel really comfortable with your Scrooge, especially after you've boosted it. But I don't think it puts enough respect on the Dale, like you're saying, because had that Dale come out, which with the Willow, Dale can come out on turn 3.
Absolutely.
You can trade into that Scrooge, and then Braden has a great board, and you have nothing. So I do think he was lucky. He got the Queen instead. But it's one of those things where you're like, is that one more worth losing my Scrooge that I really need to get up to a 5/5 to start surviving some of these things?
Yeah, and it may be one of those things where we didn't really see the Dale come into play. So Muhammad isn't aware that that's something that he has to respect. But to me, when I see a card like Thomas, that 0/4 stat line that doesn't even quest for 2, I know immediately what that is in there for. So hopefully Muhammad can kind of wise up to what this strategy might be, seeing Braden go down this more, Dale ready route.
And we did see the Dale get inked last game. It is cam game, so sometimes the ink is hard to see. I totally get that piece of it, but that Dale did go into the ink last game. And then we do see. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we do see the Todd go down, so we're doing some more shuffling. And we did see the Isis come down and take out that Willow, which is great for Muhammad.
Yeah, and Todd's a good one for the filtering, a good one for the effect of this particular deck. I think Braden's start is a little weird here, not bad necessarily, but is a little interesting, to see the kind of way the different parts are coming together. I think regardless, that Queen plus a lot of the other characters that we have on the board gets us to where we want to be with singers. We have a Prince Philip in the discard pile, so we have at any moment, and then again, we have 2 Thomases now on the board. At any moment, we have a couple of different draws that can really accelerate us into this game. But I think at this point, we're just waiting to see what combo is going to come our way. We have a couple different avenues that we could go down. And Muhammad is probably scared of all of them.
Yeah, I would be. And I am curious if potentially, because I agree, it's a little bit different than the opener we saw last time that was really heavy with those sing together and really growing the board out very quickly to make space for singing those songs. I am curious if potentially he is respecting the exertion where that these queens, like you can exert them, but a lot of your characters are going to have that 4 willpower, and so she is going to trade into them versus maybe some of those other characters, even an Eleanor, for example, that Mohammed will be able to take out more cleanly. So maybe that's part of the mulligan that Braden had considered.
It's interesting to see the Mr. Incredible on the other side of the board, a character that Muhammad would have loved to see against
Love,
those Surfer Stitches
love.
earlier, but unfortunately didn't pan out. But we have it here now, ready to see if something comes out as this Circle of Life is sung and the Prince Philip comes in.
And this is also really tough. You're gonna like hope you have a Tinkerbell and Peter Pan because even though Brayden only removed the Scrooge, he has so many characters and now has an evasive, and there's kind of no way to challenge into it.
A lot of must answer cards on the board on Braden's
Yes.
side that Muhammad is looking at here. Prince Philip, having evasive, questing for 3, absolutely a must answer. But also, these queens, these devious disguise queens here are currently, for the moment, gonna quest for 3 because Muhammad
You're
has
so right.
more lore, right? And so that is something to consider as well. There's a lot of lore acceleration, at the very least 2-3 questers on the board for Brayden, not to mention all of the singing power that we have. Again, these Thomases, with the Dales potentially. So I think that's a Peter Pan and Tinkerbell there.
Yes.
So maybe
It does
helping
look like
a little bit.
And it does, so the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell did go down, and so he is gonna be able to keep these 2 characters up and then potentially challenge into the Prince Philip, and he did challenge with both of those supers. My favorite thing about Isis, she is a super. She is a super. And get that card draw off that Mr. Incredible as well to hopefully find some more answers. And it is looking like Brayden, I think, only has 1 card in hand. So hoping that some of this card draw is just going to let Mohammed maybe get a little bit more presence, maybe push ahead a little bit further. Brayden is not swarming the board with those Surfer Stitches this round.
Yeah, I think the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell is an awesome draw for Mohammed here. Something that is going to just help put a little bit more pressure on Brayden. I think before he was probably feeling a little bit more comfortable, but now kind of has to consider that not only can these characters target his own Prince Philip, and again, who knows if we'll see a Cheshire Cat. So something we have to think about in the math before exerting, but also kind of keeps Mohammed's characters from being challenged back from anything other than that Prince Philip.
And then we do see also the helpful thing about this Mr. Incredible and Tinkerbell and Peter Pan combo, where they are evasive, and then Mohammed is getting his challenging power on the board, is that Brayden now did not feel comfortable challenging with all of those characters because Mohammed will be able to get some trades and also will be able to draw some cards. And so Brayden
it looks like
slowed
a
down a little
Demona
bit.
Scourge of the Wyvern Clan came down here, exerting Brayden's entire board to make this possible. It's a little difficult to see down at the bottom there.
Yes, yes.
But definitely a big play that enabled all of this challenging that is now happening here.
Yep. And it did slow down Brayden because he ended up not questing last turn because of that Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. So looking a little bit better, 2 to 5 lore. And then the Surfer Stitch does come.
Yeah, he's back again. But look at this Circle of Life being sung, and that's gonna take 2 of those characters leaving only the Demona there for Mohammed. And what a way to rebuild after kind of getting a lot of characters taken down there.
And that's what's really tricky about playing into the stack for Mohammed as well, is because he wants to challenge with his Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, but in doing so, in getting rid of that Prince Philip, if Brayden does have that Circle of Life, he is going to be able to replay that. And now, even though Mohammed did some great trades, that is going to remove those characters from the board, and he's left with just his Demona, which can take out these queens potentially. But she's going to be really lonely out there.
Yeah, definitely really lonely for sure. Still more lore on Mohammed's side as well. So just something to consider, in terms of the acceleration and the sequencing, and how much lore Brayden can gain on this next turn. Not sure how many cards Mohammed has in hand. Want to see how he's going to respond to this board.
And I am interested. He was drawing a lot of cards with his Mr. Incredible, so I'm not even sure if he got card draw off that Demona, but he definitely needed to exert those characters, to your point. So unsure how many cards he has, but he does play down that other Demona, the challenging Demona, and then that Isis as well to exert the Rockstar Stitch.
Looking like we're going to take a challenge with this Demona here, maybe. Yes, okay, we're going to get a queen off the board, leaving 5 damage on our Demona.
So tough. But I think everything you've been saying multiple times is so right. You do have to respect those queens and the fact that they can boost Brayden up incredibly quickly, especially with this Rockstar Stitch and the Prince Philip. And then we do see a Willow into another Rockstar Stitch.
Brayden is seeing all of the Rockstar Stitch, both of these games in a row, but doing some cleanup there onto the Demona. And look at that, we get the sequencing. Yep. So we get to get the 3 lore from that queen, because at the time that she quested, Muhammad had more lore than Brayden, so she quested for 3, and going on a quest with the rest up to 11. Pretty scary, because we just keep dropping high stated character after high stated character, and it just feels like Muhammad can't keep up with the amount of removal needed for Brayden's side of the board.
Yeah, I mean, these characters are bigger than Muhammad's characters. I mean, they, are playing with these Circle of Life and these Willows, these characters that, Muhammad either doesn't have the ink for, or, you can't get out consistently enough in Ruby Amethyst, so you're not even playing something. I haven't seen like a Maleficent Dragon potentially for Muhammad, or something like that may be able to remove some of these characters and then do a little bit more of a challenging with that 7. But yeah, I mean, this is a tough board. And again, you don't have that board clear. You have Isis to exert the Willow, which is what he selects.
Yeah, but I think what's difficult is Muhammad's having to think, what do I prioritize here with the challenging? And it's one of these things where, at least with the Isis, we are able to get both the Queen and the Grandmother Willow off the board. But while Brayden is at 11 lore, that is leaving up to 18 lore on this next quest on Brayden's side of the board, leaving only our highest statted characters, which is really difficult as well. Can't quite see what that is. My screen is blurry.
That might be an Ursula, the Ursula Whisper of Vanessa. Where you can do a boost and then she would get evasive. Not enough to potentially, oh my god.
Prince Philip, Vanquisher of Foes, vanquishing those foes off of Muhammad's side of the board up to 18 with a whole lot of lore. But Muhammad
passing.
He's gonna.
Yeah, he really gave it his best.
He's gonna look. He's gonna see what he can do here. He's gonna see what he can get off the top of the deck with the colors of the wind. Oh, it's another Prince Philip for Brayden. Oh, it's just
into Muhammad's morph, which is not what you want to see right now. It's not what you want to see when you're looking at that board. You don't want to see a morph.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tough one there for Muhammad. Taking a look, I think he's got a couple cards in hand, seeing what's possible. But I think that is gonna be the scoop up there. I mean, reflecting. Well, congratulations to the lounge. Lounge is gonna take, gonna take it.
I'm in ruins.
The first round there. Good games to both players. While we're waiting to, I think, get Brayden in for an interview, reflecting on that match, I think it is just one of those things that, again, Lords of Lore, Muhammad's version of the deck was not that kind of quicker aggro version of Ruby Amethyst. So it didn't really have the tools to get under Brayden's control deck. But because of that, it meant that we also kind of had to play the control role on Muhammad's side and try to do things like get rid of those singers and, kind of stop Brayden from getting that game plan. And the issue there is that Brayden is just simply put the better, quote unquote, control deck. right?
Mhm.
And so Braden was really able to, even when not seeing his singers, to be fair, right? Like kind of
Yeah.
that weird start with like the Thomas and then the Queens and another Thomas, but eventually, because unfortunately Muhammad's deck is just so slow and you're kind of just at the mercy of, well, did I find, an Isis Vanderchill? Well, not yet. Okay. Did I find a Cheshire
Yep.
Cat to move the damage? Well, not yet. Okay. It gave Braden this opening to really just kind of keep going, even when he didn't have that perfect start like in the first game with all those singers. So unfortunate, but
Absolutely.
it happens. I don't know. What do you think
It
about that match
happens.
there?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think the hard thing about the Circle of Life deck is that not only does it have some massive control elements, when you do remove some of their really sticky, really scary pieces, they just come back. And there's just kind of like nothing you can do about it. And in this deck as well, where a lot of your control or removal is superior challenges, that Prince Philip is such a nightmare for you because you can get the best trade possible, but if you have 1 damage on you and you can't Cheshire Cat it away, that Prince Philip is gonna send you into the discard, unfortunately.
All right, it sounds like we have our interview ready. Let's hear from Braden himself what
Braden,
he
Braden,
thought of
Braden.
that match. Braden of the
Whoa.
Lorcana Lounge for the ICL. Congratulations. I had mentioned earlier what we had seen you on when I was casting the Ink 3K this past weekend where you made top 8. Congratulations again. This was a
Congratulations.
very similar list, if not the same list. Did you take the same list?
It's like 1 card different. I didn't like Dale, so I just
Okay.
played less of it.
Okay, less Dales.
Still some, but less.
Yeah.
Was there any considerations? I mean, the lounge is like prolific when it comes to the
Oh,
ICL.
gosh.
It does it does very well. Was there any considerations against like teams trying to gain an edge, trying to kind of guessing what you would be on, or are you just so confident in the deck that you didn't have any fear kind of bringing it regardless?
I think like the general feelings is that one of the green yellow decks is the best deck to be bringing, and the fact that the green yellow decks have so many different versions means for ICL like it's really hard for them to prepare for it because there's only a 1 in 3 chance they play against it, and then there's like a
Yep.
1 in 3 chance they play against a specific version of it. So it has like a huge advantage on that axis. And then it's the only deck I've played. So like for context, I've played like 5 games on Saturday, and then I played 11 games on Sunday, and then these are 2 more games, and those are the only games I've played. And because
Wow.
in top 8, I just left because we split prizing, and I had a 3.5-hour drive home. So I
Sure.
just
Oh
left
my
and
goodness.
dipped.
Fair.
I only had 1
Fair.
game loss on Sunday, and I didn't have a game loss today. So I'm on a pretty good streak. So maybe I should just keep playing this. That's like that's
It's
how we got
speaking to
there.
you. Something in
Yeah.
it is speaking to you. And I was gonna say, it seems like you snuck into the Lords of Lord DMs when you were talking about the fact that, yeah, there is 1 color combo, but that color combo has so many decks. So in trying to prepare for which of those, is it gonna be control? Is it gonna be aggro? Is it gonna be something in the middle? Is very challenging when a lot of the ICL, I feel like, is trying to think about the team that you're playing and
Mhm.
what they bring and what position and like, kind of playing that gambling game. So yeah, that makes makes Emerald Amber even better.
Yeah.
One
I,
thing I
I
did want to know, we talked a lot about oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
forget it.
Okay,
Nothing
sorry,
important.
sorry. We talked a lot about like this Ruby Amethyst build, which I think also, to be fair, has a couple different iterations out there right now. I think you definitely had an easy time with the way that your deck was drawing. The number of Surfer Stitch might be a record
River
high
Stitch was
for
showing
one
up for
round.
you.
But we talked about how
Yeah.
there are not this, a little bit more like challenge matters controller heavy version. It's not pretty great into your deck. But were you worried at least at first about some of the all evasive, some of the aggroing out, or do you feel like even into a little bit of a quicker build with Ruby Amethyst, you have a plan against it?
I don't think I'm ever really worried about their speed because I am like a combo control deck that looks like an aggro deck. So like I get to, if they like try to just play to the like really fast, a lot of like Eleanor's pretty good into a lot of their like early
Mhm.
questers if that's like what they're doing. Like Jack is not Jack, the one
Dash.
the new Pegasus. Yeah, Dash.
Dash. Dash.
Like Dash, there's also I don't know if they play like I've played so little this format, but there's a 2-mana 3/2 that quests for 2 if you're tapped out. That card's really cool. Eleanor also doing
Randall.
Oh,
that.
Rascal or
Yeah,
Rascal.
yeah.
Randall. Rascal is
Yeah.
my teammate.
So I think like the Eleanor stuff's pretty good into that. And then at the end of the day, like I don't think this is like really an aggro deck. This is like a hard control deck that is like masquerading as a aggro deck.
Mhm.
So like for me, it's like, oh, they're super fast, sure, but like I'm kind of like the old green blue decks where you're just like, yeah, I'm ramping into my
Yep.
combo.
My
I'm gonna
big
shift.
combo.
Yeah, and so I don't think there's a lot of
Oh.
decks. There's no Daisy anymore, so there's like not a lot of decks that actually have the speed to like race something like that. And then like you saw me like in the first game, it was literally just like, yeah, I exert my stuff. I'm just gonna keep playing things out until you run out of ways to kill my thing. I had to get 8 out before Demona came down. That was like the only thing I was really stressed out about. But even then, like that's like they have to have a particular 6 drop on exactly 6, and it has to be that they didn't have to ink it to play their like more aggressive cards early. So which they can like kind of dodge. Like it's not like I'm asking a ton of them to have it, but um I don't know. It just felt like as long as I can get 8 Singer before they demona me, I am probably going to win the game. And both times, that's basically what
That's
happened,
what
right?
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did in game 2, we were talking a little bit about seeing those queens go down on turn, I think turn 3, and then again on turn 4 or turn 5, I can't remember. Was that something that you were mulliganing for in particular into this matchup? And can you talk a little bit about, if so, why you felt those were particularly helpful?
Yeah. So you want to like get 8 Singer out, right? And so the Queen is a 4-cost card, so it sings for 4. And what you really want is Willow, so you can play it on 3, or like an Aurora
Mm.
if they don't have a 1-drop. And so what you want to do is like just set up the 8. And the nice thing about Queen is that like it's a 5/3, so it like trades with the Scrooge if they ISIS into Scrooge. So they don't really want to do that, which is why he killed the Willow. But the actual danger is the 4 Singer, right? And so like he kept getting these spots where for him to make clean trades, he has to like not take the largest Singer on the table. But that's all I care about is the largest Singer on
Yeah.
the table. But if the Willow sticks, like you saw in game 1, there was a play where I went like Willow, 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 Surfer
Yeah.
Stitch.
Yeah.
And you have
Silver
to
Stitch.
kill 2 of the Willows before the 5th ink, right? Because if the 2 Willows can cheat out the Surfer Stitch. And it's like in set 1, there was a deck that went Detective Mickey, Surfer Stitch, and you're basically doing the same thing. Like you're just going like Willow, Willow, Surfer Stitch. And so like we put them under a ton of tension basically. Like they have to kill the Willows, or I can just hard cast my expensive cards. But if they don't kill my high cost cards that are really good, like the Queen sings for 4 and draws a card, that's the dream. Like I thought about putting Jasmine in the deck today because she does the exact same thing. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
And so I didn't, and so I played the Queen. But so yeah, I that's like the interesting thing about the deck is you kind of put them in these tough spots where they got to kill everything and they just can't.
Yeah, especially into this deck, which is all about challenging, and then just ended up not getting kind of good challenges back. And then when he did, he just saw Prince Philip, which great for you, tragic for me.
Yeah. there was some cool spots with like inking too, where like I could have discarded an Ursula instead of a Surfer Stitch, and it was like an interesting spot. But I knew like the way I win the game is like hard playing the Surfer Stitch so often, and I already had the Prince Philip in discard, so it was like for a while I was like, oh god, why did I do that? It was so wrong. But it was a huge deal actually that I didn't. So
yeah, it was a very dominating win. Your deck kind of did everything it wanted to do, and it was fun to watch, honestly. So congratulations on
For
the
some
win.
of us. For some of us.
For some of us, yeah, of course.
Absolute hater energy coming.
It's my team.
Definitely non-biased casters in the booth. But no, I mean, let's give some shout outs. Let everybody know who made this possible, who made this win happen for you today.
Shout them out, Brayden.
Yeah, thanks to all the people practicing for Continentals. I get to steal your deck lists and play them. And then shout out to Franz for inspiring me on how to be a decent organizer for one of our teams, because I have no idea what I'm doing, and Franz is actually good at it. Yeah, that's everything. Yeah, I don't know. Shout out to the lounge rules. Yeah,
the
awesome.
lounge does rule. But
and
congratulations
shout out to you
on the
your
win. Yeah. We'll let you get out of here. And hopefully the rest of the wins can come through for the lounge or Lords of Lore, because we also have not a clue here. But since you're
Betrayed
here
by
in the
my
booth,
own caster.
no, but since you're in the booth, since he was in the interview booth, we gotta
Yeah,
support
you gotta
that. But
support, you gotta
we're
support.
jumping
And he's
into
so
the next
sweet. So
one.
sweet, Brayden.
Let's
Good
see
job, Brayden.
here. Good job, Brayden. Good
Wow,
job,
what a
Loungers.
board. This is kind of looking
I
different
know,
colors.
what a board.
I'm having deja vu.
What am I looking at here? No, that's
Is this the same game but without the Surfer Stitchers?
lots of things happening on the board here. All right, so we're gonna orient ourselves here. We're getting thrown into the match.
We do
Looks
have
like it's
Friendly
game
Neighborhood.
3. Yeah.
Yes.
Friendly Neighborhood Oryx versus Rules of Villainy, Cap and Jimmy. Oryx looking very dominating here, just like on first looks. We got 13 lore and a ton of characters on the board. On the other side, only 11 lore with only 2 characters. The Louisa can make some of the math interesting, but this is a very overwhelming situation here to look at.
This is an overwhelming situation. And also, like, not a lot of good trades for this Louisa because she has 4 willpower. So what she can't trade into this Isis, she can't trade into Tigger, she definitely can't trade into Demona. And then we do see the Hades go down. And we see it goes on the Dumbo, and they're like, yeah, I'll put it to the bottom of the deck. What do I care?
Yeah, I mean, when they have so many characters, that might even be the scoop there. So we're coming in right at the end, and it looks like Oryx is gonna take it. Friendly Neighborhood, shout out as we I mean, listen.
We knew what that game was. We watched 2 of those games. It was just different colors.
It's
but
fun
it was
to like jump into a match and be like, whoa, there's 12 things on the board.
So many Dumbos.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It looks like Ruby Amethyst crushed it at Gen Con. Not crushing it at ICL this week.
Listen, I mean, that's how the meta is. As another caster comes on in, hello, Franz. You just received you just received a shout out from Brayden. For being a good organizer of the team. So, in case you didn't hear it,
way to be organized.
So did you get a chance to watch that first round there?
That's all you needed, to be honest. That's all you needed. Yep.
Going on, and I kind of just put something down and loaded up a game online.
Well, those 3 seconds that you saw were pretty much the entire match.
Games.
So,
twice back to back.
I mean, yeah,
we call those the nuts is the technical term.
Yeah.
And Brayden did have them.
That would be true. That is sure. That is for sure.
You know,
but it's been interesting. So, you know, we have Lords of Lore on the feature table here, down 1 game, but there is still 2 more to go. Anything can happen. We've seen that they have Ruby Amethyst already taken up, but if we had to kind of do some fun predictions for those next 2 slots, what do you got? Well, not a clue. If you know, don't comment. But Franz, what do you think as like a team organizer? What would be interesting to see for those next 2 colors, what they have left to really try to turn this around?
Yeah, I think generally the whole meta of these first few weeks is revolving around green yellow, a little bit of purple yellow as well. So you're looking in those first few games to figure out where green yellow is sitting. Lords of Lore now knows that green yellow is no longer on the table, so they don't really have to worry about it. Usually in seat 2. I would try to prepare for a worst case scenario type thing where I probably do lose and I'm trying to set up for my C3, or I'm targeting a very specific deck. So it's possible that they targeted green yellow into C2. It's possible that they targeted purple yellow into C2. So in that case, we could see a pretty wide variety of decks. You could even go with the green yellow item control deck, because that is currently thought of as like the worst matchup for that purple yellow deck. You can go for purple yellow yourself if you're trying to counter one of the green yellow decks. You could even go for just green yellow yourself on a song type build to try to catch an aggro type green yellow build and get under the sea off. Tons of things you can do in this format specifically because of how many many builds of green yellow there are. So it's kind of like throwing everything on a loop. I'm really excited to gather some data.
Yeah, for sure. I can see not a clue, not very politely not commenting. So I appreciate that, and I got you. I think it's a fun consideration to talk about sometimes, a little bit of a peek behind the curtain for the chat, because I think a lot of the chat watching is, to be fair, people who are supporting their teammates or playing in the ICL as well, but also for people who are just like me, who are not on any teams and just like watching Lorcana on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night, seeing how the meta is developing. Sometimes you kind of forget, other than the color restriction, you forget that there's like strategy involved between each of the picks. And so I do think it's fun when we have, certain people on to kind of talk about those considerations for what do you bring first, what do you bring last? Because for us, we're just like, oh, maybe we'll see bots for no reason. Maybe we'll see, Emerald Steel for no reason. But there really is logic here behind what these teams are picking. And it's fun, honestly, to see how it all shakes out.
It is definitely the challenge every week because to your point, Franz, there's, the certain decks that you're probably definitely going to see. And then as the ICL goes on as well, like we keep track of what people played in the past. And so we also know the types of decks that those teams may be playing. And so are able to think through that as well. And then you're thinking through, to your point, Franz, as well, like, okay, so if we lose our first game, what is going to set us up the most for our second game? And, maybe also that first game is the one that we roll. So you kind of want it to be good either way versus really like only oppressive on the play potentially. And have those on the play decks maybe a little bit later. So you're balancing all of that as someone who has to do our round organizing. It's a lot of work, especially when then someone goes, hey, I can only play round 3 and I might be late. And then you're like, great. Don't be late.
But no, I mean, you guys are going to have a lot of fun looking at this next match. I think I'm saying goodbye for now. I'm going to pass it over to you guys. Thanks so much for having me, and enjoy the round. Goodbye, everyone.
All right. Hopping right into round 2. Have Zero to Hero versus Aaron here. Aaron on one of the. I love that run of mats where it's like the Steamboat Mickey on the cloth mat. Yes. Just one of my favorites to play with.
And they're so nice. They feel so nice.
Absolutely.
And I am waiting, Ravensburger. Shout out, call me. I'm waiting for your 2-player mats. Can we get some 2-player mats?
No, I know. I feel like that's something that they definitely haven't pushed as hard as I would have expected them to.
Especially with like coconuts coming out, right? Like it's really fun when you play Commander or things like that, and you can just have 2 mats and it's nice and easy. So I did think there were like some larger mats at Gen Con that they had available for people to like sign, but I'm like, yeah, do that. People would use those,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like that. There's tons of stuff, and like something that I think is like cool in some other TCGs is that there's a lot of official product that kind of has like a board kind of like semi already printed on the mat. So it's like it's a little bit more immersive when you actually get it sitting down in front of your opponent and you're both looking at the same board and you're both trying to put them in the squares and it kind of looks the exact same.
And it helps new players a lot, which I know is a big thing for Lorcana. We love our new players. Ravensburger, call us. We got ideas.
Absolutely.
We're available for
it does look like we are
about
finished with the mulligan here, and Zero to Hero is going first, I believe. So
yes. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So like just sitting down here as going into your game 2, you your team did not take game 1. You're down a game. What are your thoughts? What are your main thoughts sitting down as Zero here going into this game?
Well, I think one thing to your point is that Emerald Amber, I think still is kind of like the villain of the meta, maybe, or like the one to beat. And so, we try to make sure that we are in, at least watching if we're streaming or in the call watching the previous match. So hopefully Zero did see he doesn't have to play into that and so is going to have to be thinking through some of the other decks that he may be seeing and trying to get kind of his best move forward knowing that he's probably not gonna like see something super aggro-y
For sure.
potentially. The most might be a amber amethyst with those willows.
Oh yeah.
So he may be expecting something that is a little bit like steel, and thinking through what are some of gonna survive some of those early plays. That's what I would be thinking about. What about you?
No, I think that's pretty spot on. And then leaning into something else that I wasn't able to mention earlier, another big part of ICL in general, and just like the online space, is once there are groups that are specifically known, players that are specifically known, there are tendencies that start to form. Obviously, if you're going into ETB and you see a Habibi across from you, probably
You know
about a
what's up.
there's probably about a 75% chance you're looking at Amber Steel. Just
Your
like
amber steel aliens is coming out.
yeah, just like if someone were to sit across from like me, on one of these, statistically, they might be seeing green, they might be seeing steel.
Yep.
And that's like and
People
that's
have their
like
pet colors for sure.
of course, and like
They're
that's
petting.
the price to pay for playing in the ICL as long as we
Yep.
have, for doing well too. So
Yep.
we see a very interesting card there.
Yeah, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Yeah, is a 4-cost Mother Knows Best. Return character to that opposing player's hand, inkable, and we do see the Omni Droid, and that is very telling.
That is very telling. And then we do have the Inker Omni Droid though, which is interesting. It means we probably either do have the shift, but did not see Zero put down a 1-cost character that we could have pinged off the board next round, or we don't have that Omni Droid shift and we do have the Violet shift. And then we do see the melee go in and an Angel come out, which is great that the droid was not played.
Yeah. So this purple steel deck specifically, having a ton of shift targets. Every card we have seen from Arn at this point in time, inked and played, has been a shift target, whether or not for an Omni Droid, a Violet Par, or just being morph so you can shift anything.
Morph's got it all. Got it all. And I do love this morph art, and also is always intimidating to see, because then you kind of never know what's going to come out, except now you do, because we are going to play Lenny and we are going to see the hand. So many shift targets.
Yeah, it's just pretty much everything there, and not having a song to discard here is definitely not ideal. We see that Omni Droid version I can't remember the number of versions. It is the one that deals 2 damage. So not a big part of this green-yellow songs deck is always trying to keep Singer on board, whether it's Singer 3, whether it's Singer 8, or some other combination between them. We do see the shift Violet Par coming down, so we do know that our 2 Singers are currently safe. Very interesting. I think a heads-up play from Arn here, knowing that this is not Singer 8, so we don't necessarily need to take out any of these cards at the moment.
Yeah, and the helpful thing about this Lenny, even though we did not necessarily discard, we do get to see the hand, we do get to see those shift targets, but also Lenny can be a removal powerhouse if you are able to sing something with him, ready him, sing again. He can just start to do a lot of song removal or a lot of digging through your deck, which we also don't hate. So Lenny is going to be able to sing and then draw 2 and discard. So we do see the Prince Philip go into the discard and then ready up. Could potentially do it again. Could potentially sing something, maybe a Mother's Knows Best, or some other potential removal.
Yeah, there's Mother's Best, a Cood. We have the option for Malicious Mean Scary to potentially go along with that Prince Philip here. However, that Lenny only being once return would open up the Lenny to being challenged next turn. So some of the times when we're just trying to build the board in the green yellow songs deck, getting that one sing from Lenny kind of being free, and then essentially doing what Zero's doing now, protecting the card, keeping up your song count. Like we said earlier, this is the name of the game for this deck, is keeping those Singers online. We have to keep the board, especially against a deck like Purple Steel, who is about to start really putting the pressure on, because we're going into 4 and we did already see that syndrome.
Yep. You are absolutely correct. And kind of right now here, you have to play your cards, and then Zero just has to pray
Yeah.
that there wasn't a drawn into a strength or some other steal removal that would get rid of his aerial. And we do see the syndrome go down, shifting on the morph, and then pulling back that Omni droid.
Yep, and we do get to play an Omni Droid from hand. It does not have to be that Omni Droid, but we did see earlier that there was not a second one in hand.
Yep, yep.
And now we have a potential check on steel removal. We do not have it, which means that Zero has accomplished the feat of getting to Singer 8. We do have a Prince Philip in the discard, so the opportunity of going Malicious, Mean, and Scary and then sing Circle of Life would be absolutely devastating.
Devastating. He did ink a Mean and Scary.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see. I'm not sure what else is in his hand, but he does have enough to do that and also still boost his aerial, which would give him also additional card draw,
Absolutely.
Which would be great.
Many options here. He has enough to boost, hard play it, or he could also sing it with the Lenny as well, restand the Lenny.
Yep.
But here we're going for an Akud. We do get 2 cards off of this Akud with the aerial boost.
And that is also why this Lenny is great, because we do see the boost, we do see the Akud draws too, and you can still do everything we just talked about. You can still hard cast the Malicious, Mean, and Scary, and then do your Circle of Life play for the Prince Philip.
Going for the Chernobog here, notably absolutely no characters in the discard for Aaron because he took back the Omni Droid. This Chernobog coming down, shuffling back the Syndrome.
Which is great. You want to get that off the board as soon as possible.
Removing the biggest threat here and leaving your board still safe to challenge on the backswing. We're not super high on Lord from Aaron's side. This is a very nice position from Zero. It's exactly where we want to be.
And you still have that combo available. So again, if Aaron starts to put other things on the board, I mean, these are some of the things you can, now that you have that Chernobog, you can take care of that and trade into that Violet. And then there's kind of just like an Omni Droid. I'm not that scared of this Omni Droid. So there is opportunity here for Zero to maintain this board presence and then still keep his combo for later.
Absolutely. And we're like I said, we are pretty much exactly where we want to be. We do have an Angel to potentially discard, get another character into the discard. So another
coming out.
So another Chernobog is not necessarily as scary going forward now. Just like in season 1 with all those other cards like Rapunzel that have really snowbally on play effects, they typically beget each other. So a Chernobog coming into a Chernobog followed by another Chernobog is very, very, very good. But in this format, if we're able to get a large-ish character into the discard, we are able to mitigate that a little bit.
The only challenging thing here that I see for Aaron is that he only has 1 card. That Angel is great. That Angel wins you games.
Sure. Yeah.
And even if you have no cards, that resist can do so much work for you. But you do have to use your resources. And Zero does have 3 cards in hand, which if I'm Zero, I love that I have 3 cards. I have Singers and I have a boosted Aerial. So I'm hoping I have Songs. And even if this Angel starts to pick some things off, I'm just going to be able to refill like much faster than my opponent is.
Yeah, and here we see another Akud coming down, drawing 2 cards, and this is just what this green-yellow deck does. It wants to get into this mid-game. It wants to get into these grindy top deck wars with these mid-range decks, because we all know that the top-end removal of this green-yellow songs deck is pretty much unmatched by any other deck in the format. So this is, like I said, this is where we want to be. It looks a little bit close on the board, but it is definitely favoring Zero at this point.
And then we do see, I love Max Goof. I love that's a pet card of mine, both of the Max Goofs. But we do see that Max Goof is able to go down with that Akud. So costs 1 to play and then 1 to trigger the effect, and then able to draw back a song, which is great, because a lot of these songs that you really care about, apart from maybe your Circle of Life, are going to be something you can pull back with Max Goof.
Yeah, Max Goof making his name really in Infinity in the last few formats with in the typical green steel discard shell, being able to pull back songs like Sudden Chill, Strength of Urging Fire, let the Storm Rage on. But here we're able to get a more setup type of like toolbox songs into this card. We have Strike, we have Akud, we have Malicious Mean and Scary as our removal spell. And we have striking match to start to sculpt our hand.
Filter through.
And again, we are starting to really build a decently sized board here. We have the Aerial, we have the Chernobog, not necessarily threatening strength-wise on the board yet, but it is just a matter of time until a Circle of Life really comes down and starts to make this a lot harder.
Though we do see the hard cast removal. He was thinking about playing the droid, ends up hard casting removal, and you have to respect that Aerial, especially when you see the Max Goof, knowing that Zero can just keep pulling out these cards and getting so much more card draw than what you have. But you know, it is also, if you're gonna Angel, you kind of don't have any more. I think you have one card in hand. Might have to do some challenging, but then you're not racing ahead in lore. So kind of a question, I think, here on if he wants to take out the only exerted character or put some pressure on the board.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a balancing act here. We do have 4 lore on the board. We are at 12, so we're starting to get very, very close. One interesting part about this green-yellow deck when you're playing it is that if there's no Aerial on the board, if there's no loops involving the oh my god, the 7-drop from Treasure Planet.
Milo?
Yeah, Milo's. I'm sorry.
Yes, Milo Thatch.
Yeah.
Yes, the 7-drop return ward, and then when you put some of these things in your discard, that
absolutely. Guy. If we don't have loops like Milo in play, then we're really starting to hurt on card draw. And this board specifically is not as threatening yet. We do see Zero start to trade in challenging wise. This is exactly what Aaron wants to happen. We want to get those singer lines down, so the plays like the Malicious Mean and Scary into the Circle of Life are less possible. We still have the ability to do that here, but it is getting a little bit less feasible because of the amount of characters that are on the board right now. But we still have a full turn from Zero here. We are going to 7 ink. And I am
guessing that okay, and then we do play the Surfer Stitch, and it's tough. He did ink one of his Circle of Lives, but he has another. So he is going to do the Circle of Life, play the Prince Philip, and so he gets that card draw off of. Didn't do it through the Mean and Malicious, Mean, and Scary. Did it through some of his low-cost characters, which was just able to get over Violet's Resist, which is great. But that did allow him to sing with his 2 remaining characters and then play that Surfer Stitch. So now he does have 2 bodies on board that are really, really tough to get rid of, even with this Demona coming down.
And all of a sudden, Zero to Hero's board goes from a little bit dinky to pretty large. Aaron able to keep that Demona in hand, though, to refill it. It is going to be very tight here if this lore lead from Aaron is going to be able to cross the finish line now that Zero has built the bigger board.
And definitely, if you're going to play Demona, that's the turn to play Demona, because Zero did have 3 cards in hand. And so Aaron did get full value off, and then is going to be able to snowball, which is the nice thing with Demona and Angel in this deck, is that Angel is really nice when you have things that refill your hand based on how many cards you have, because you can start throwing things out of your hand that aren't helpful to you in that moment to trigger more cards off the Demona, especially if you're playing into a deck that just has more draw than you.
Absolutely. And here we're passing over to Zero with the 3. We have 3 lore on board at 12. We're threatening to 15. We do need to play at least 2 more lore and quest out to threaten to 20 next turn. Sitting at 0 from Zero to Hero. So we are not as the cushion's not super hot yet. We are
Yep.
we're feeling it though as this board continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We have the Surfer Stitch, we have the Phillip, and we now have the Milo Thatch. We are discarding with the Milo to bounce presumably the Demona, and now this is exactly what this deck is starting to do. It stops you at a certain amount of lore, and then it
Yep.
builds a big
And then
big
it
board of its own, and now it is
boosts.
trying to absolutely lock the game.
Yep. And it's also nice. Zero now has 2 cards in hand. Also, Milo is great with that Chernobog because at this point he does not want to play a Chernobog. He does not want to potentially get rid of something and have you draw out his Syndrome, or if he, I'm not sure if he still has one that did go in the deck, but or some of these other droids. But he can just discard it and return something in hand. And then that Milo has Ward, Quest for 3. Prince Philip has Evasive. None of these are going to die to a snowball. And then he also only has 2 cards, so that Demona is just not as good.
Yeah, and this is one of the bigger issues that steel decks are facing right now. Is decks like this are very tough for the steel removal to even deal with. Even the purple steel deck specifically is able to get around that a little bit by having just a bunch of large characters. But when you're facing down a board like this that you've already lost control of a little bit, it's hard to deal with a 5/5, a 6/6, and a 4/8 when your angel's only throwing a snowball worth 2 damage.
And if you lose that angel, that's also tough. Like
Yeah.
you're going to lose your characters into trading into some of these characters. And with the Circle of Life deck, you know that they are probably just going to come back anyway.
Yep, and we are untapping here. Readying here
Readying,
from Zero.
correct.
We have, I believe, 10 lore sitting on the board here.
Yes.
So even though we aren't at 14, it would take a lot to get him to 20 from this position, even if he shifts double Syndrome on these on this Morph and Incrediboy. It's not going to get there.
Not quite enough, unfortunately. He kind of wishes he had 1 more lore, because then it means that he would get, not a great trade body-wise, but, I'll take someone spending their 2 lore against my 1 lore. But unfortunately, he doesn't have enough pressure on the board to do that. We do see the Aerial come out, which if there are any songs that Zero can kind of hard cast, he's just going to refill his hand. And really he's going to go up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 12. So 17 with a lot on board. And hard cast that Akud.
Yep, and just getting Akud, looking for a draw 2, potentially looking to take out any of these shift targets to avoid any surprises coming down, especially because that Syndrome, when it quests, is able to get a Omnidroid back and play it, but you can use that play, quote unquote, to shift the card, which means shifting over that morph with the Omnidroid would let it come in ready and ready to go, ready to challenge. But here we're taking out the angel. We are questing out. We are putting 15 lore on the board, and we are saying, Aaron, I don't know what you have in your deck, but I am pretty sure that it cannot answer.
Pretty sure it's not a lot. Yeah. And again, that's why these Circle of Life decks are just so challenging. They have that removal. They also have smaller control, bouncing things back to your hand. They have it on bodies as well. And that Milo is just, I think the Omnidroid shift is great to get rid of some of those initial tempo, get rid of an angel, get rid of a singer. But later in the game, it's just not as significant as that Milo Thatch, returning a whole Demona, a whole 6-drop back to your hand, and then having Ward.
Yeah, and going into game 2 here as Purple Steel, we do now know that this is it's not a favorable matchup. It is quite literally the opposite of that. Green Yellow Songs, I believe,
favorable, some may say.
Yeah, some may say. So right now we saw what happened last game was that even though we were on the draw, we still got to a solid amount of lore before things stalled out. So now that you're on the play, you can play things a little bit more aggressively. You can make sure to try and mulligan for those more for more of the damage to stop the early singing to build up those boards, and hope to get to a higher lore total and limp across before Zero to Hero is really able to stabilize.
Yeah. And it's also, interesting because when Braden was playing a similar deck, the Circle of Life deck, we saw that a lot of how he got things down was through those Willows, through those Auroras, cheating out some of those characters that are not necessarily synergizing with songs, but are just he's able to get them out early and have a lot of board presence. Whereas Zero is really more focused on his singers, his aerials, his Akuds,
Yep.
getting him some additional draw and some additional cheats. And so, I do think one benefit for the Amethyst Steel is that if he can get a good Omnidroid shift off early and wreck some of Zero's setup or tempo, he could potentially just run away with it just because Zero is not going to be able to get some of those bigger characters out.
Absolutely. Even just going Omni Droid on 1 into the shift Omni Droid, hoping
Yep.
that Zero's playing the Angel on turn 1 because of the underdog ability, that would be very good. It's hard for this green yellow deck to even threaten that 4/3 Omni Droid in the first few turns, let alone punish Arn for playing it. So being able to take out a Singer 3 and then force Zero to accelerate their clock of taking over the board state is what we want to be doing. But that's probably why Zero to Hero is playing a bit of those unknown bounce spells, like the put that thing back, maybe even a Mother Knows Best if it's in there.
And if I'm Zero, I want to see a Sing Together Malin.
Yeah, that would be absolutely
that
fantastic.
Cannot be taken out by a droid.
That's true. Yeah, that anything that has 3 willpower, it's very interesting to see in the last few weeks of how the early game has progressed from everyone playing a 2 willpower card into everyone wanting to play a 3 willpower card because the amount of things.
Yeah.
Because of this and because of a lot of the amount of things that just deal 2 damage, and then
just
a lot of other
damage.
And now a lot of the steel decks are playing around with different packages to deal more than 2 damage early.
Yep. Exactly. That is one of my favorite things, and I think what is really fun about playing in the ICL, because I mean, it's all for fun. There's obviously pride on the line. These teams want to do well. We want to do well. But you also get to, have some fun, try some things out, see what works, play against really good players who know their decks, who are also, if they're going to try things, they're going to have practiced, they're going to know how to try them. And so it's always interesting to see how the meta shakes out during ICL and kind of what are some of the little tricks that help some of these decks go ahead of their.
And there we see the trade that I was talking about earlier, getting down the 4/3, taking out the Singer 3, and now you just have a 4/3 body on the board, and that is just so difficult for this green-yellow deck to even comprehend dealing with in the first 3 turns.
Now, if you're Zero, do you play the Angel and make them have it?
I would say you probably have to play it and make them have it unless you have a different turn 2 character to play, maybe an Ursula. Like an Ursula, I think no, sorry, it was turn 1. If I had
turn 1.
Yeah, I apologize. If I had the Malin, I would probably play the Malin. But if I didn't have another play, I think you do have to make them have it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't also know what, apart from the Malin, obviously if you have the Malin, you play that. But if you don't have that, I mean, I don't know what other 1-drop you're really putting in there that will also survive. So definitely a tough spot. The only good thing is that, if I'm Aaron, I have to win again on the draw. So great that he had it, but Zero can kind of do the best he can. Put that 1/4 down, which is great. Start building that Singer up.
And it's one of those things where, yes, you've lost a lot of tempo in this early parts of the game. There is a card that you're not going to be able to remove in the next 2 to 3 turns at best. But the silver lining is there's not a ton of lore on the board. There's 2 lore on the board. This purple steel deck does go very narrow with its board, and it is Arn, even if he's using a Thunderbolt now, still turning that card sideways. So he's only putting out a lore, but we have a Benja here, 2 lore, And we have a smolder.
And a smolder.
Wow.
That was a great
Yeah.
turn. That was a great turn. So we do see the Thunderbolt go down. The Morph's still up, able to quest safely. And then the Benja goes down, which probably not for this matchup, but I think Benja is a great card into some of these decks. And then the Smolder filling his hand back up, and Zero has gotten kind of no tempo here at all. The aerial goes down.
Yeah, and here we see that Benja coming down, and while it is not necessarily for this matchup, it is currently for this matchup because,
That's
like
true.
I said, what we want to be doing is pushing that lore early. We want to be really starting to race Zero to Hero earlier, and that card does have 2 lore, but we do have the aerial on the opponent's side here, but we also have more characters on the board. We are giving that 2 damage, which would let us quest with this Benja and trade if Zero so desires.
And the thing that's tough about where we are now is you do have this aerial. You are going to want to boost. You are going to want to sing. Potentially could have put that thing back where it came from. Put that thing back. Onto the droid, and then had something that doesn't have as good a trade into the aerial. But since he was able to shift another droid doing damage, and now has 2 droids, even if Zero does double removal, which might be possible here, that 1 cost droid, is still going to be able to take out his aerial, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, we do see the turnabout coming down here. Probably the best case scenario,
I agree.
taking out those Omni droids, and then still having the ability for Ariel to trade into the other Omni droid, which would leave Arin's board much smaller than it was before. And that's probably where we have to go. Unless we're deciding to keep things upright, which is a very valid play to keep Singer 8 on the board. We do risk another deal too.
Another Omni droid though, and we do have this ship target there. That's so
we risk the Omni droid, we risk the Angel, we risk another song, a Steel Song, and we did just shuffle back an Omni droid to the deck. So the odds have gone up since last turn, but I do understand it to an extent.
I do understand it. We do see the Violet come down. She does see herself, which I don't know how many cards Aaron has, but not bad to potentially try to maybe get a song for something on board. But it looks like he said, no, I don't want to do it. So he may have no cards in hand.
Yeah, it looks like 0 at the moment, but now we are just deciding whether or not we want to turn sideways here. The 2 damage on the aerial, very important for trades. However, there is also a Chernobog on board, which would be able to get a free challenge in to at least the Omni droid 1-drop or the Benja. So we will see what happens here.
Say if I know that sometimes when we have no cards in hand, we just go, it's okay, I'll skip. But knowing that 0 has Chernobogs, I don't hate tossing something into the discard and hoping you get a pretty okay character, because it just makes that Chernobog worse. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I fully agree with you here. We have an opportunity to put a character into the discard. We choose not to. We're a bit worried about maybe putting a very good character into the discard. We may draw next turn. However, the opportunity cost to turn off a Chernobog might be a little too good to pass up.
Yeah, and I also know you might put a song, right? Like you have a lot of songs, you have a lot of actions, but it means that 0 gets this Chernobog for free again, which is just so painful into a matchup that you're already struggling with. And then we are going to get to Circle of Life as well and play a Milo Thatch and discard that Akud to return something else in hand.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened last game, and it's happening again now. We got to a point where we had a turn that we had Singer 8, we had the ability to really pop off, and we did. We were able to keep the Circle of Life. We were able to get a card into the discard that we wanted to get off of it. We even had a boosted aerial to draw a card, and we had Milo Thatch to see a second card go into the discard to get another card. This is just fantastic play by 0.
Fantastic. If I am on Aaron's side. I don't know. This is really tough. I mean, I'm gonna take that Ariel. That's
Yeah,
for
I mean,
sure.
you have to. You definitely have to. Yeah.
You're taking that Ariel every time. But you're left with just the Benja and 11. And, you know, he says, I'm not even going to quest because you get a clean trade off. Maybe I need to keep this to take out that Milo or potentially sing something and play a character. And we see the Rockstar Stitch go down.
Yeah, this is just what this deck does. I think I said the exact same thing last game, and I'm saying it again. Where you take advantage of decks not being able to put enough pressure on you, and a deck like Purple Steel that wants to shift very often is really narrowing your board down.
Yes.
And unfortunately for Aaron, he just was not able to push enough lore either of these games to really stop Green Yellow from doing what it wanted.
I agree. And I think, the other piece is that the shift, to your point, the shift can be really powerful. It can let you sing those songs. It can let you sneak out a trade. If it has on-play effects, you get those things out sooner. But the challenge is that your board is then smaller, and this deck, this Amethyst Steel deck, counters that a little bit with his Syndrome, where he can do that shift but still get those Omni Droids back.
Yep.
And he just didn't see that. He saw a lot of the Omni Droids. That makes sense. You're trying to control Zero's boards, not let him get to that 8th Singer, but you do sacrifice potentially mulliganing for your Syndrome, which is going to pull some of these droids back onto the field.
Yeah, and we saw it this game. We had the morph setup. We were going into 4-ink, and we just didn't have the Syndrome. I believe we even had an Omni Droid either in hand or in discard. We would have been able to do something with it, but just didn't have the cards this game. And unfortunately, just didn't really have the cards this match. It was a tough matchup, but I think this is probably going to be where it ends.
Yes, and then we do see the Striker Good match, which is kind of just tough because these Milos are both going to draw a card off that. Yeah. And then Zero's just going to be able to put on a lot of pressure. I mean, he's respecting the Benja. I don't think you need to respect the Benja, to be honest. But I get it. You know that they're not necessarily going to be able to get rid of a lot of these characters. You have time. And you're refilling your hand. But you could have also.
It's all about turning 0.1% into 0%. I've played the control decks before. Right. I played red purple in set 2. I've been the person that has sent like a fox into just a lone 1-drop when they're at 12 lore and I'm at like
just
5 or 6. It's just to be sure. Like quite literally, it is just to be sure. Like Zero doesn't know if Arn's playing dash pars. You can go dash par, and all of a sudden he quests for 6, goes to 19 from 13, and then we don't draw an Under the Sea or something like that. We can't clear the board, and all of a sudden we lose a game where we were about 99% chance to win.
You're 100% right. And you definitely don't ever want to lose the game that way.
Yep.
You definitely don't want to lose the game that way on ICL stream.
No,
after you're down 1.
No, there are a few things that are less embarrassing than having an ICL screenshot with your name in the losing column. I would know. I've had that before.
Oh no! I hate that for you.
It's fine. It's all fun.
Get better through your losses,
100%. And it's fine.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. We move on to the next game, and especially in this case, this match is not over. Even though Arn may lose this, the Loungers do get that opportunity.
There's a chance.
The Loungers do get the opportunity to play first going into game 3, and that's really where you want to be in a tight matchup like this. When you have a good idea of what your opponent's playing, and then you have the ability to go first, which is what essentially every deck wants to be. Oop. Is that me or Nadu? I think you might be muted, Nadu. Luke, is that on your end or is that on my end? Oh, good. Nadu, you can take that. I will keep the chat busy waiting for this potential interview coming with Zero to Hero. Like I said, we are going to game 3 of this match between the Loungers and the Lords of Lore. We have Aaron getting taken down. We have Zero to Hero winning, and we have Braden winning in game 1. So it is very interesting to see who will be coming out in this game 3. I know who it is. I don't necessarily know who's coming for Lords of Lore, but I'm excited to see. We do have green yellow played on both sides. We have purple steel and red purple played on both sides. So it's going to be very interesting to see, because we haven't seen yellow purple. We haven't seen red purple on the Lounger side. We haven't seen a lot. There are a bunch of meta options that are still left on the board here. A lot of steel decks that are left on the board. Someone might be willing to go a little bit crazy and play blue. I wouldn't do that, but who knows? We are probably getting an interview in soon, Luke? Question mark? Yep, just waiting on the Zero to Hero to come in ready for the interview and hopefully have Nadu back soon.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Wow. We almost made it all the way through.
Technology is technology, you know?
My mic was picking up on my side, and the system was picking up my mic, but something went wrong.
Odd. Oh, well.
That's good, because I gotta shout out my teammate. Hopefully he can find his way in to the interview.
I dropped one of my poker chips. I gotta get it back.
Those are very important.
Yeah, it's I gotta have my little stim object to play with while I'm commentating.
I understand. I went to Gen Con, and we got some artists did a bunch of keycaps.
Ooh.
And I was messing with them all. It was so fun. I highly recommend it. I had not had one before, and all of Gen Con I was walking around like just clicking it up a storm.
I think someone would call a judge on me if I had one of those at an event, because it would be constant. It would be consistently. It was like all match, every single game. I'd just be like click.
Me and my brother-in-law both got one. My partner opted not to. We did annoy him so much. It was crazy.
That's one of those things where you got to be comfortable when you're sitting down at an event. Like, well, not when you go to an event, just like not necessarily like a locals, but like something that you're going to, like a bigger event, local 2K, all set championship, even up to DLC. Like, what's your sell? What do you need to feel like 100%?
Ready. Yeah. Number one, I have a little Daisy bag and a little Donald like figure that I put on my deck. And those are like my good luck charms. I have to have those. Those have to be ready to go. And if I can't find them, I actually lost them at one point. I refound them. It definitely messes with my luck. So that's for me. What about you?
Yeah, I have a little dice bag that I keep with me. I obviously have the poker chips now. And then as long as I have my little boogie board and something to like keep my hand, whether it's the poker chips or other little minifigures, I need those specifically. But
I just got a boogie board with Jesse on it. That was at Menards.
That is
I'm
awesome.
Very excited to use it next time I go. I had not had a boogie board before, so I'm very excited about that.
All right, we do have Zero in the house, so we are going to be moving to an interview here before the end of this round. Zero, congratulations.
Hello.
Fantastic game played.
Thank you.
It was
good job.
Wonderful, just showcase of how good this deck can be and how patient you have to be to play this deck. When you're sitting across from a steel deck like that, going first, your mulligans, like what is going through your mind about how you need to set up for this game?
Honestly, against like something like the droids deck, I really like. I think I kind of showed it, but that Chernobog like puts work in. Like, unless they find a way to discard like a giant droid in the beginning, it's really useful because like it removes like really difficult things to remove, like the syndrome, right, or like the violet, right, like anything like that. Yeah, it's easy to get rid of kind of early, and I'm just trying to get characters to stick and just wait until I get something out. Like if I get to circle my Milo, or if I get to circle out the Prince Philip, that's when I think I can start putting the gas on instead and trying to quest out instead.
And I think we definitely saw how good Chernobog was in both of those matches, as well as the fact that it puts a character on board. So you do have some of those other pieces where you can potentially return something to hand. It doesn't return it to hand, and it leaves that 2 questing character on board with 5 attack, which is great. To
Yeah,
then
like
even, yeah, be able to take a Violet out if you wanted.
right, like I specifically kept choosing his droids because I just didn't want them in the discard. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I would
Yep,
shuffle those
yep.
away, and then you can keep the Violet in your hand. That's fine.
Yeah, you can have that one.
Yeah.
That's a little treat for you.
And yeah,
Now,
go ahead.
oh, I just had a question. So, I think you played really well in that second game. You were on the draw. You did end up playing that Angel, which was droided away. So lost a lot of tempo. And then you immediately lost your Vanessa. But you were able to rebuild board presence. I guess when you're facing into steel and you do kind of need those singers, what are you thinking about? And how do you kind of keep that game plan in mind, even when your like first 3 characters are kind of knocked off the board that quickly?
Yeah, so like kind of funny thing about my deck is like the only like really one drop I play, it's not even a one drop, it's the angels. So like I'm not expecting to tempo out with like the one cost anyway. And like I'll even do things like I didn't have a 2 drop, so I just played to strike a good match, right? Like for a cost. It's like I'm not really worried about those early characters. If you want to, like sing Zeus to take care of it, if you want to like throw your droid in. Like I'm kind of okay with it as long as my later threats like get to stay. So like sure, I didn't have the Angel Singer in the beginning. Sure, I didn't have the Ursula, but then I played Ariel. Then I played a Chernobog. I played another Chernobog, and that's still enough to sing, right? So that's kind of
Yep.
the hope. Is like if I get out like enough threats, then eventually I'll get to sing the circle anyway, and then I'll still be fine.
Yeah. So everyone knows that green yellow is such a force in the format right now, with 3 up to 4, maybe even 5 builds that a lot of people are playing at these large scale events. You specifically, when you know that you want to play green yellow, what made you choose this archetype and this build specifically?
So funny thing, when Circle of Life came out, I really tried to get this deck to work. I really did. I think
I'm with
there's
you.
yeah, so like I do have a YouTube channel, anyone who doesn't know, but I streamed like
Follow.
I streamed a set champs like back when it came out, trying this out, and then that was super different because yes, I had the Circle of Life, and I would use like Bobby, I would use the Yzma to discard like Clarabelle, and that was like the hope. Like I get Clarabelle and discard, and then it comes back out. And this was like before the days of militias and stuff, so not as much of a threat. It was just kind of hoping that I got to draw cards back again, and then just like have big enough characters that it was hard to deal with. So I guess it's kind of like a dream come true where I'm like, oh, a Circle of Life deck like actually works, and this is it does like feel really good, because like before it was a little bit like if you didn't get the right cards, you could feel it. Like it was your hand just wasn't doing anything. But I think with like all the filtering, all the discarding, and like the extra draw, even stuff like the Surfer Stitch, like really like like closes it out and makes it a really fun deck to play. Like I think more than anything, I was like I really wanted something fun, and this like what's more fun than playing like a giant character for free?
For sure, and absolutely, you were showcasing it very well. Obviously, very practiced with all of these cards. Absolutely masterful. Now, before we send you off, would you like any shout outs?
Yeah, so obviously, yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. I know I haven't posted very much on it, but it's there, and we might be getting some more videos there soon. So yeah, it's youtube.com Zero to Hero TCG. I want to shout out the Lords of Lore, my team, obviously. Nautically knows a lot about it. And yeah, just everyone who got me here along the way.
Thank you.
Good job, Daryls. You crushed it. Oh, and throwing us into another game. We love this. And it is Droids v Amethyst Ember.
Yeah, we see the typical mid-range suspects on this yellow-purple side.
Yep.
We see the Augustin, we see the Isis. I saw an Ohana Means family in the discard there. This is a very interesting matchup here. While not as prevalent with the removal, purple yellow still does have solid bits of removal specifically targeted at these droids with this strength-based removal of Gaston and World Greatest Criminal Mind.
Yep. And these support characters are just really great. I love that new Gaston, and it made some of these support characters where Greatest Criminal Mind, it's not maybe as consistent, particularly if you maybe don't want to be playing like a full set of 4. But now with that Gaston, when you get a body on the ground as well, it has just made that sort of amber removal way more interesting. I've even seen some, more aggro-y decks. There was one of the Emerald Amber more aggro deck with like Mike and some of those Willows low cost that do still play a little bit of support and that Gaston, just so if they are going into droids, which is a tough matchup for them, or maybe into like Steel Song or the Circle of Life deck, they do have that ability to remove some of those things that even with a Dale, you're not getting off the board.
Yeah, and it's like it's all inkable, so that like the Gaston
all inkable, baby.
Yeah, like we saw a similar card before being printed in Fable, the Minnie Mouse that does something similar. I believe it's on Quest though.
It was on Quest, which made it really challenging because things don't stick around in Lorcana.
Yeah, but now we have a similar effect on an inkable body. That's a solid. That's like a solid body. It's like nothing to super smooth that, even though it's a 5-drop. But you're in yellow and it has all the cost reduction. And you have a ton of support that is also inkable. So a lot of yellow decks, if you're building your deck and you all of a sudden like you're finished with your main core, all the cards you really want to play, and and you have like 48 cards, like, hey, Augustin, Ilonwi, Gaston, like boom,
Gaston, just and a couple, maybe 1 or 2 Greatest Criminal, toss them in. And then, if you are playing into some of those Amethyst or Ruby decks, those are just going to be, you don't even need the support. Some of those you'll just be able to remove, like Demona. So it helps into some of those matchups as well. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting card. And I still think like a balance card, you have to have a little bit of a combo, but not too much of a combo. But does give, I think removal is so powerful. We've seen that all day, how powerful those removal cards are.
Yeah, now we're going into so this is a game 3 of a purple mirror match here, and this is something that we haven't really seen yet tonight. And the purple yellow deck specifically, this is kind of the spiritual successor of Blurple from last rotation, which was the spiritual successor of red purple from the from the first rotation. You can draw a straight line from people who were playing red purple to Blurple to this. It's like almost the exact same thing. We traded out the
and you can see the same players moving along in that line as well.
we traded out the Sail and Tipo for the Willow and the Ham. We traded out the Elsa for the Gaston. Essentially, we have Isis still, so we have that bit of exert removal, and we still have the very powerful cards that purple received last set last rotation in Hades. We have Demona. We have even still some 1-drops that challenge up as a staple of purple. Obviously now we are not seeing 1-drop from either side, which is very interesting because both of these decks would usually like to play them.
Yes, I agree. They both have quite a suite of 1-drops. They both have good 1-drops. When you see that the bots player or the droids player bots, when you see the droids player is not playing their first Omni droid, you feel a little bit better playing your 1-drop. So it must be that Teacup just didn't have one, maybe expected the droid and mulliganed them away. I'm not sure, because with Willow, you would also love to see a 1-drop right now to be able to sneak out a character.
We do have the removal for the Willow. This absolutely is taking a bit of a toll on purple yellow, but most purple yellow players, this is game 3. We know we're playing against steel, so you don't normally try to keep a backup plan just in case we see the ink of a cat and we're just playing a book. Get some more card draw.
Continue to get our ink up. Maybe do some future Willows on another play next turn. Or start moving to our higher cost characters. But this is a little bit tough. But again, the good thing about playing into Amethyst Steel with these Omni droids is with those shifts, you're not seeing a wide board. You're not seeing a lot of questing. Even though you maybe have lost a little bit of tempo, you can get some of that back with your card draw and with getting some of your future threats out.
Yeah, we do see the Invincible Boy coming down, getting that lore because of the hero, choosing not to draw, discard. Those cards in hand must be pretty good, but we do see on turn 4 the Augustin coming down, threatening a Gaston next turn, and there's not a single card in Purple Steel that is going to immediately remove that Augustin here, where we would have to have 2 different cards to remove it. So here, we're just choosing to go for another Violet Par and hope that maybe that a Gaston here on this Augustin is not going to be enough to stop this tempo.
You're absolutely right. And, the nice thing about adding these support characters in that we've been talking about a bunch is that you can obviously do the Gaston trigger, which I think is potentially what he's considering. It does look like he picks the Violet, which, I think he is maybe considering which of the violets he wants. But then you can also challenge up, right? So you can quest next turn, and this Gaston can take out that other violet. So even though you are not playing necessarily another Gaston, you do still have that support ability.
And here we have one of those aforementioned very good purple cards coming down.
I love that card.
Threatening to take a card off the board or drawing 2 cards. The board is a little bit tight here, and Purple Yellow has a lot tougher of a time taking back the board. So Teacup deciding to just give the cards up here. Now we're left with just a Gaston to an Exerted Violet and a Hades. And this Gaston currently cannot take out. Well, no, it can because it can. It's
it can, but it will trade.
I don't know why. I don't know why I always think it's resist 2.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Now, wait a minute.
Yeah, true. We do see a second Augustin coming down here.
Oh, that's are we gonna see a second Gaston? Because
maybe. If
so, what a set of cards to have. Now I know why you don't have a 1-drop.
I will say that ink of the Louisa here, very telling if I'm sitting across from the board that there's almost certainly a Demona coming in my future.
Yep, absolutely. And we do see, that Demona goes down. And I think Teacup is not drawing. Not drawing. Okay. But that's all that's going to happen on Turtle's side. The challenging thing now is that when you're doing a mirror into purple, they can play their own Demona, which is going to lock down your Demona.
Yep.
Instead, they're going to play Hades, though.
Not going for it here. Another potential play could just be playing Isis to exert that Demona and freeze it, because that Demona did just draw 3 cards, and Turtlewank did not get under 3 cards. But we have the World's Greatest Criminal Mind to immediately remove that Demona.
We don't need to lock it.
Just a fantastically tuned deck for a purple mirror with just the amount of answers that we have to just specifically Demona in general.
And then we do see that Willow going down, which is really nasty when you have purple because you have so many draw cards. So you would think we have a lot of ink. Maybe we don't need that Willow as much, but you can start to really build a very intimidating board. And we have seen where we have come to these Amber Amethyst matches with they have a full suite of characters on the board. And you're like, how has that happened?
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's similar to purple mirrors of the past. One of them is just getting out the purple stuff a little bit faster. One of them is tech just a little bit more for the purple stuff. This Purple Steel deck is a purple deck, but it's kind of like a splash of purple in a steel shifty type of deck here versus this yellow purple deck, a lot more traditional purple. Like I said, it's everyone from every past set who has played red, purple. They all combined together and decided to play this deck specifically forever and always.
And then we see the 8. It was the Rapunzel trap. Now it is the Ohana trap, where that Hades is able to take out the other Hades, and then he is able to play Ohana, play a Willow, and then play a Cheshire Cat.
Who decided that red purple needed a Rapunzel? Who decided that?
Who made that choice?
Who made that choice?
Ravensburger?
I want to talk. I want to talk.
I would like to speak with them.
I just want to have a conversation, you know. Here, getting that card draw down, getting down a Cheshire Cat along with some other Willows here. Again, the board is just getting away from Purple Steel, but the Syndrome is the start of this. Now, if this Syndrome can live a turn, then we can start to really build the board back up with big boys. But again, this yellow-purple deck is packing tons of answers.
Yes. This is not the deck you want to see for your droids, because your droids really excel in getting good trades, in being really sticky, and they are not sticky into Gaston, and they are not sticky into Greatest Criminal Mind. And they are not sticky into these exertions where now he is going to potentially be able to take out the Syndrome if he would like. And a second Isis.
It's like we're packing so many answers to the strength-based removal. Sometimes we just forget we also just have purple cards.
Yep. And we also have that cat. We are going to be able to boost. And then we are going to be able to take out that Syndrome, which I am absolutely at this point sacrificing a Willow to get that trade.
Yeah, and even though it's a slightly larger trade than one would normally go do a 5-drop Hades and the Willow going into it after eating the two damage from the Cheshire Cat, that is just a card in Syndrome that represents so much tempo swing that we cannot let it live. And as we saw, we had the 8 cost droid in hand, so now instead of letting the Syndrome quest and getting that droid for free, we had to spend the entire turn to just play the droid.
Which, if I'm Teacup, I'm happy, because, you know, I can potentially find my way to something that's going to be able to remove that droid. And there's no board clear on Steel, so I can also hang out, or I could just take that. Oh, he is questing. I thought he was just running into that droid.
Yeah, we're just questing, throwing down another Isis. Another thing, part of this yellow purple deck that it definitely took some notes from Blurple last set. A lot of people are starting to play that second star to the right, the 10 cost Sing Together. Chosen player draws 5 cards.
Yes.
If only purple didn't need more card draw.
More card draw.
If you just have
another one.
Yeah, there's a second bot, but the first one did not get banished with a removal spell. So at this point, we really need to start battling these cards, getting the board back under control, so that this second bot can also help, and then you can start to take control again. Hopefully, dodge some of these strength-based removal from Teacup.
The hard thing here is that he does have 2 Elon Wees, which again is a 1-drop. You might think that's not great to see, but it is going to do that support, which may allow Teacup to get a little bit better trades into the spot, and is so wide that potentially, right, like he can just start questing. You can only take out one thing at a time.
And we are taking out that first Omni Droid. The Omni Droid, importantly, going into the Isis last turn, which lets the 2 Ilanwis buff up another Isis into taking out the bot. And then here we just get some more quests. And Turtle Mike, again, this doesn't have a ton of rush characters, has a little bit of direct damage, but not a ton. But here we go. We go again. Another one.
We go again. Another one. Now, this is a little bit better for Turtle Mike. He is going to be able to take something out. He does respect the Elon Wee. So there's not as neat a trade here for Teacup, but Teacup is also, and a book off the top. You hate to see that if you're Turtle Mike.
More card draw. And again, this purple steel deck, while large, it is a narrow board. So right now, Teacup is just trying to get enough characters, because we're going to 14 lore here, and we can only take out 2, maybe 3 characters if we're lucky next turn. So we're hoping to just get enough characters on the board that we can limp to 20.
Yep, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. We popped our book off the top, which was incredible, and then flood the board. And at the end of the day, an 8/8 is great, but it doesn't matter if they have 10 characters on board.
Yeah, we are currently threatening 21 lore next turn, so we can get them down to 19 with the 2 challenges. Maybe if we have a removal spell as well, we can get them down to 18. The Incrediboy coming down, potentially threatening a shift in the next turn or two. This is indeed what we want to be doing if we were to get things under control. We would like to see another character here as well as a syndrome in hand, but again, we are going to 19 with just these 2 challenges.
Yes, and the book off the top is great, but like you said, you really wanted to see some more ability to challenge into what's on the board. Again, even if these Omni droids are obviously going to stay, but we are going to go up to 19, I believe, and then you can only remove 3 things with what you have on the board.
At the moment, yeah. It's tough. A purple steel deck like this, who is mainly trying to just get control of the board, was not able to go. We do see a Dumbo here.
A Dumbo.
Very priority removal here. So if we are not, so even if this wasn't 19, if we weren't able to remove that this turn, that would start to do a lot more damage. Looking at 2 cards every turn, finding those cards that generate more cards. This is what these purple decks try to do. Get to this point and then just flood the board until your opponent just doesn't draw the answer.
Especially if you're not playing into a Prince Philip or something that can, again, clear your board, you're pretty safe to just kind of drop, see what 1 removal or 2 removal they have, quests, and know that you have just sufficiently outraced them at this point. And we are going to scoop it up, which makes a lot of sense. Great games, though.
Yeah, and this was showing what the purple yellow deck likes to do into a pretty favored match, I would say. Now we are looking into a game 3 of the feature match, Lounge versus Lords of Lore.
So exciting! And I think you are sticking around.
Yep, I will be sticking around with my friend J Bomb. How are you doing tonight?
Hello.
Again.
How are we?
I'm doing pretty good. A little bit tired after 4 rounds overall in the last 2 days of commentating Lorcana, but man, do I love this game, and I'll continue to come back and do it again and again and again.
And we had some great games, and we are leaving you with a 1-1, which is the kind of the space you want to be at, because it means that this last game is for the marbles.
Oh yeah, and I love both of these teams here. Obviously, the Lords of Lore are local to me, and then we've got the Loungers who really helped me along in DLC Indianapolis. So very tough on who I'm rooting for.
Very tough. We won't ask you. We won't ask you, especially with both of those here.
True. I will tell you what.
You can say after I leave.
I'll tell you what, though, J-Bomb, we have seen green yellow from both sides.
Both sides.
So we are not going to be talking about Eleanor, at least a green yellow Eleanor coming down. Who knows if we'll see another one? A lot of mad lads are playing green out here.
Please don't give me another Buzz's Arm deck. That was the hardest match I've ever casted on Sunday.
You don't want to watch? You don't want to do that? Yeah, so we may have a fair match coming up since we have seen both of these. Emerald.
Yeah, I will say bringing a Buzz's Arm to match 3 of an ICL game, I would have to have a word with Brayden.
Honestly, I respect nothing more.
Yeah,
I would have to have a word with Brayden because I'm the one that's commentating it. if I was out of here, I'd be like, all right, that's fine. I'm gonna go to bed, but I can't do that. I'm here now.
I mean, at the end of the day, the game can only take an hour. Like at some point, you're like, whatever.
I sure hope.
That deck is silly.
It was fun to watch. I just wish I knew all the cards a lot better because it was very, very tough to just highlight everything because I was not as rehearsed as I should have been on that list specifically. But
all right, call me J-Bomb. I'll run some games. I'll run some games against you. You can experience it in its truest form.
All the items have very odd names, so it's I can recognize okay. There's the Buzz's Arm. There's the book that draws a card. There's the staff that gains a lore. There's the thing that makes everything inkable.
hidden in
Saying enigmatic Inkcaster over and over is so hard. I wake up every morning, I start my day, and I say enigmatic Inkcaster.
That's what you do before getting on to cast. That should be our warm-ups.
No, that's just how I start every day in life. Not even when I'm casting.
Oh, in life.
No.
Oh, I love that. So if you do 2 actions, you get a lore.
Yeah. So
Wow, I'm
I'm
happy for you.
just gonna like wake up in cold sweats, like preparing for casting like a side event, and then it's just in my dreams I have Liam like
It's just all arms.
throwing like toys at my head, saying, "Say enigmatic Inkcaster, say it,
Say it again, say it again.
ready, set, draw."
Oh yeah, big ready set draw guy. That's how I don't forget to draw.
That's how I don't forget to ready.
Oh, I still forget to ready when I say that, so I can't actually.
It's the first thing.
I'll go like
you
ready,
have to
set,
ready
draw,
first.
and then I go back and I say,
draw.
I'm supposed to ready when I say ready, aren't I?
You're like, I said a word. I didn't do the word, but I did say it. Yeah. I thought I heard production coming online to kick me off.
All right, we are looking to move to Game 3, Lounge versus Lords of Lore. Say goodbye to Nadu. We are getting now we're getting only biased commentary coming from us, folks. We are 2 Lounge boys looking forward to some lounging. J-Bob, I don't care where you're from. We're lounging today.
Yeah, but we do have one of my favorite buddies, Rascal Adams, who always brings and gives us the spice. And so if we are seeing him, it's going to be something pretty fantastic, because I always just love the kind of areas he's willing to go to find just some really, really cool deck ideas.
Absolutely. And on the other side, we have Fear Freak Ben, Lounger Extraordinaire, flexing on me every single time that I get into a VC with him. He has the Enchanteds, and now he's flexing on me with the Lorcana official Chinese learn to play mat. What's going on here?
I have one of those myself and have not found just the right reason to play on it yet. But I think here at the ICL, this is the right reason to try and take the first win of the season for the Loungers over Lords of Lore. And correct me if I'm wrong, is this a rematch from Top Cut, or was Lazy Boys the ones that knocked out Lords of Lore?
I know that Lazy Boys played Lords of Lore at some point. I don't remember if that was in Swiss or in Top Cut. I want to say they was our first round of Top Cut.
Okay. I know one of your 2 teams did, but play them.
It is no, because Loungers lost to Select Few in round 1.
Well, you guys, okay, yeah. So it would have been Lazy Boys then that did it.
Yeah.
All right, I saw what looked like a Donald Duck inked there from the Emerald variety, and we've got an Aries being inked over on Rascal's side. So,
are you sure that was a Donald Duck, or was it a little more dark, a little more hero-like? A Darkwing Duck, perhaps.
It looked like the Green Christmas Donald Duck, but it was a little blurry and maybe shiny. That one was so fast that I didn't even get to see it.
That was the Enchanted Shift Todd in Copper.
Okay. There we go.
And we are playing a very passive game here. An ink of a Hercules to play a Liquidator.
Yeah, and Liquidator is still good on turn 2. Not as good when Fear Freak Ben is just sort of not doing anything, but Rascal is on the play, so Rascal is not on the play. I'm just all over the place today. We're going to get in the zone here, Franz, but we are inking and playing the Vixie.
And this, I would say, if there is any deck that would define the Lounge in the last few weeks, it would be this one. But we have the perfect answer for a turn 3 evasive card, which is our 3-cost Horseman Strikes, banish an evasive card and draw a card. This is going to put Ben in a bit of a bind in this in the beginning of this game specifically.
Yeah, exactly right. Because Ben was hoping to use that Vixie to get about 6 lore at least from it, while Rascal is trying to set up all of his combos between the Webby's Diaries and stuff. But he is just going to play a Todd and another Vixie and allow Rascal to try and answer back. So Ben still in a nice position here to gang that aforementioned 6 lore that he's going to be after from the original Vixie.
Yeah, I think a very important thing that this deck specifically does is it doesn't necessarily follow a very average curve. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, a lot of the times we're going 1, 3 plus 2, 1 in the first 3 turns, just getting that Vixie discount and then potentially playing 2 cards in and setting up a strength for 4. We do get, it does look like we are going to get this Vixie turning sideways, but Rascal, on the other hand, getting the Aladdin boost down, giving reckless characters the ability to tap to gain a lore.
Yeah, and then Ben, while dumping his hand early, he is going to likely have the ultimate refill in the current rotation meta, which is the Touch the Sky into Paradise Falls, which is going to draw him 4 cards while also putting out a very dangerous lore threat in that Paradise Falls for 4 lore return. And so you really aren't punished much for playing these characters that aren't going to refill or replace themselves. And we are going to use that Vixie to sing and take out the Liquidator.
Yeah, and I do want to point out the Darkwing Duck that we've been seeing. We're seeing a lot more of the package come in with the intent of playing cards like the Terror That Flaps, as well as the Launchpad. The Launchpad being likened to potentially even Diablo himself, tapping itself to draw a card every single turn. Here we play the Queen. We get a 3rd character on the board, which is exactly the amount of characters that we need to start getting an Eleanor ready to go. However, this is still not a ton of cards, and this Ruby Amber deck is getting higher on lore, and now they have their ultimate card draw in the Diary.
Yeah, and we are going to start by taking a card from that diary. And as you said, this is the most important card in Rascal's deck. It's a card that's so important that you're not going to win a lot of games that you don't get this Webby's Diary into play. And so what that card does is whenever you boost, you're going to be able to pay an additional ink and draw a card. And so it's going to draw you a lot of cards because a lot of this deck is boosts. And now that that's set up, Rascal is free to play the rest of his cards to counter what Ben's doing and hopefully answer the board. And the big payoff here for Rascal is once he gets to 8 ink, he's going to be able to clear the board with that Raging Storm. And so Ben is going to try and want to counter that by setting up a Lenny around that time in order to remove it from his hand preemptively and preventing that Raging Storm from coming out. But we're still a couple of turns away from that, and that Launchpad is going to come down that you were mentioning previously.
And here we get a quest with the Queen putting Rascal above Fear Freak in terms of lore. So we do get that extra bit of lore power here. Ben then using a 2nd strength to take out the Aladdin. We do lose a Scrooge and a Hercules under that Aladdin. Very huge, especially if Rascal does not have another boost character in hand. This is where we can start to run away a little bit with it from Ben, even though we are not on Eleanor yet. We are still in the early parts of this game.
Yeah, and so Rascal's just going to take his time. He's got a very full grip here. Going to try and figure out the best position he can put himself in to prevent as much lore as possible until he gets to that all-important 8 ink. And so we are going to use... we are going to invoke Takesies Backsies and not play that Horseman Strikes just right away. Or no, it did. Okay.
No, it did.
He did. I thought he took it back to him. Okay, so we're going to ink the Maleficent and play a Liquidator and a Hercules.
Yeah, some fantastic use of ink there, being able to take out a character and then threaten 2 more characters here. We've already used 2 songs from Fear Freak Ben. We do have access. We do probably have access to He Hurled His Thunderbolt. If we're looking at those Darkwing Ducks, we're expecting the Terror That Flaps. So that would be a very scary situation if he had multiple removals. But again, we still haven't seen the Eleanor. Here comes Terror That Flaps. No Darkwing Duck on the board, so we can only deal 2, taking out that Liquidator, leaving the Hercules on board, which is not ideal as we still have that Webby's Diary.
Yeah, and that Webby's Diary is just going to allow that Hercules to basically become a 1-drop that draws a card every turn. And that is just not the position Ben wants to be in because Ben is running out of gas himself. So
there is the 3rd strength.
Yeah. And strength, one of the most important cards in the deck, and that is often why you play Steel in the first place. And so Ben is going to hope that these cards can get him enough lore to get him to the finish line as Rascal is inching ever closer to Raging Storm, now at 7 ink and just 1 turn away. And that red alert's going to come and answer that launch pad. And he likely is picking that launch pad because if that Darkwing Duck is drawn, that launch pad is going to act as a card draw. Ben down to just 1 card in hand, and Rascal has been doing a very good job of just not letting him get to a bunch of lore. And so he is going to go to 9 here, and that's a very, very good position for Rascal to be in. He'd be a lot more scared if he was in the 15 to 20 range, but now Ben is down to 0 cards and 9 lore, and this is going to be a tough spot with Rascal having that diary still in play.
And importantly, we saw with that Ursula, we saw the counting house, which has boost itself. So we are going to be able to immediately come down after that Raging Storm and get some card draw back with the Webby's Diary, unless we've drawn another card that could potentially deal with this Todd and Copper, maybe a Maleficent Dragon. But no, we are deciding to just drop down the counting house, get it boosted, get some lore up on there, and then draw some cards with Webby's Diary.
Yeah, and we are gonna boost that Scrooge's Counting House to draw a card, and we're gonna play a second diary, and now the cards are going to start flowing like water here for Rascal, while Ben is using everything he can to generate some form of cards. And that there is that Darkwing Duck coming into play. He would have loved to see the launch pad in there to get some extra value, but that is going to get him up to 11 lore this turn by questing.
I will say here, after the Raging Storm, getting down the counting house and getting down a second Webby's Diary, that isn't contesting the board as much. So we might be drawing a little bit further into the deck, but we aren't currently answering stuff. And that is what Ben wants to see.
Yep.
We don't necessarily care how many cards Rascal has in hand at this moment. We are the ones that are racing. So we can't afford to play around anything. We just have to hope that the cards aren't on the top of Rascal's deck.
Yeah, and most of Rascal's deck are going to be cards that answer the board. And we are going to finally see one of the best 2-drops in the game in that Scrooge McDuck. And he is going to boost it and draw 2 cards from the Webby, continuing to fill his hand. But it is going to leave room for Ben to continue getting lore. And this is showing 14 on board for this turn. But Rascal drew quite a bit of cards this turn. And Vixie, a great draw to continue accelerating the lore count and lore pressure, assuming Rascal has not drawn a Raging Storm to take out all of Ben's characters.
Yeah, this is one of those times where a deck like Greensteel that plays a lot of density in those either early questers or the characters that quest for 2. So if we're able to limp for just another turn, then Rascal is going to not be able to take out these evasive characters, and it might just be over, but it looks like a Raging Storm is coming down, and that is likely going to clean up this game.
Yeah, and that counting house is just going to keep putting on the pressure even through that Raging Storm and allow Rascal to just be putting a turn clock on this game into the next 3 turns or so. And so Ben is in a extremely rough spot with another Darkwing Duck off the top, which is only going to be generating 1 lore, which is just not going to be enough for him at this point.
Yeah, just a tough turn of events for Ben here. Going into the future of this game, in this match specifically, we do know that this is red yellow, and this is a matchup that I would say that a lot of Greensteel players are pretty comfortable with, especially on the play. Unfortunately, we didn't get those 1-drops, we didn't get those 2-drops early, and that's what this deck is really trying to do, is go 1, 2. Maybe a 3-drop with Vixie on turn 2 into multiple characters. Put on that lore total for Rascal, so that they are not comfortable just playing a Horseman Strikes on turn 3 into more cards on turn 4. Force them to have more than that. Force them to make really tough decisions. Put 2 evasive characters on the board. Force them to make a choice. That is when we're going to be able to get more lore incrementally. And you saw right there, we passed on turns 1 and 2, and we still ended up at 14, threatening more, and we forced them to have a second Raging Storm. This is Ben knows this matchup. I believe he understands what he needs to do. Now for Rascal's side, knowing that they have stolen back the play, what are we thinking?
Yeah, and Rascal's gonna be very happy steal that game on the draw because, as you said, his deck is a control deck, and this is not the same green steel that we have been used to as its identity. There is a new green steel in town where prior green steel was a very slow deck and controlled you through the hand and discards and just took a very long time to get to 20. This is not that same old green steel we used to know, and this deck is aggressive and is going to draw a lot of cards while putting a lot of pressure out and answering the cards that Rascal plays. And so the biggest card and the keyest card is going to be how fast we can get to that Raging Storm while keeping our hand a bit healthy and making sure we have some follow-up after the Raging Storm from both players.
Absolutely. So well said that you've left me speechless, Javon. I'm so proud of you. But yeah, going into this second game, obviously Ben is looking for those early questers. We're looking for some Pegasus. We're looking for the Todd into the Vixie, Ace and Todd and Copper. If we're finding even the Darkwing Duck into the launch pad, not necessarily fantastic into this matchup because Red Yellow plays a lot of characters that are able to immediately remove the launch pad. But still, those can generate cards, generate advantage, and activates the terror that flaps in the night. If Rascal does play a Scrooge on turn 2 and we have the Darkwing Duck, deal a 2-drop action that deals 3 to that Scrooge could be pretty devastating.
Yeah, devastating indeed. And that Scrooge is going to be one of the better answers to a lot of what Ben's doing, besides the Vixie specifically and the other evasive characters. But the Scrooge is going to trade very well into it. And if you can stop that with the Terror That Flaps in the Night before he can start boosting, that is just such a big tempo swing that the Red-Yellow deck depends on, because they're not usually playing another character on turn 3 and 4. They're hoping that that Scrooge survives and they can play the Diary, boost, draw a card, and then continue to develop their board, not by playing characters, but by boosting and giving more strength and willpower to that Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, and this matchup, not unlike a lot of matchups in the format, is going to hinder on these early game plays, especially because this is an aggressive style deck playing into a control style deck. We are likely going to be able to tell how the direction of this game goes after the first 2 or 3 turns.
Yep, and the Todd going to be a great card to play on turn 1 because, very importantly, that allows us to play the Vixie on turn 2, which is very difficult for Rascal to answer early without spending his entire turn on. Now, he does have a lot of Horseman Strikes and Red Alerts, as we saw there, but it requires his entire turn. And the Liquidator also very good on turn 1 because that's going to answer this Todd should this Todd start to go a-questing.
Yeah, and if we do have the Vixie here, it does even just dodge all the removal entirely because Rascal's only going to 2 ink here. And this is another one of the reasons why we are potentially shifting the Todd and Copper. Rascal won't be able to deal with it at least for another turn, though that Horseman Strikes would come down and be essentially a 2-for-1 because we've shifted.
Yep, and that is one of the downsides of shifting. You do get this early advantage and whatnot, but it does lower your card count significantly. And so if Rascal not going to be able to answer this one right away, but he will be developing his ink here and then going to 3, so he can hopefully Horseman Strikes it on the following turn.
So no Scrooge coming down here. That is very important. The Hercules not necessarily a slouch, but obviously we always want to be having the Scrooge. Hopefully we can get some sort of answer on the board next turn for Rascal, or else these evasives might become a little bit too much.
Oh, yeah. And we are going to see another Todd and Copper go to the Inkwell there and play out the Darkwing Duck.
Is a 3-cost 2/5 that deals 1 damage. It is uninkable though, so the deck has upped its uninkable count. We are going to quest again with the Todd and Copper. We are really hoping here that Rascal does not have the Horseman Strikes, does not have any of those answers that can get rid of an evasive card.
Yeah, and when you're playing against a deck like Ruby Amber, you have to go for a lot of plays and just say, please don't have it, and hope you don't have it, because that is how you're going to gain the strongest advantage. But Rascal does have the Horseman Strikes, and that is going to be a 3-for-1 in his favor because the Horseman Strikes draws a card, and then it's going to eliminate the 2 cards from Ben's side. So that is just significant card advantage for only 3 ink this early in the game, which is going to cause Ben to have to ink the strength of Raging Fire, which he really does not want to do, and then play the Eleanor when he doesn't have characters to exert. So not a great position for Ben at this moment. Rascal doing an excellent job of dealing with this early game.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you shift the Todd and Copper early. You are not building up your board enough, and unfortunately, they have the Horseman Strikes, and potentially even going into turn 4 here, they could even have a Red Alert. And these are the cards that these red-yellow decks are mulliganing for into this matchup. They want to have the answer for those big cards. And if we have a Red Alert here onto this Eleanor, it is very tough for me to imagine a world where Ben is able to come back from that.
Yeah, very, very well said. The Red Alert is going to be just extremely punishing for Ben. Not that he's in a good spot already, but it is just going to be the icing on the cake for Rascal. But Rascal just going to opt to play the Augustine Madrigal, which is really interestingly seeing a lot of play now. A 3/6 support just hasn't been good enough in prior sets, but with the addition of cards like Gaston, he has become a very strong answer. And then if you combine it with Ohanamin's family, it's just a very synergistic card for cards that this deck already planned on playing, and allows your Gaston to hit most any target in Ben's deck.
And here we do have the Horseman Strikes coming down. We didn't have enough characters for Eleanor before, but we do now because of the Bodyguard ability, and to pair it with he hurled his Thunderbolt to deal 4 damage, and then the Eleanor will deal 1 more, taking out that Liquidator potentially once we quest with this Darkwing Duck. That all of a sudden, it does exactly what this deck is trying to do, which is put your opponent onto 1 card on the board. There's not a lot of card draw. The Red Alert's not there, and this Augustin doesn't even take out the Horseman. It's on its own.
Yeah, that was about the best possible turn Ben could have done in that situation, and actually puts him firmly back in the driver's seat of this game right away. And that is just very, very, very surprising for me. That one took me by surprise, to be honest. It's quite off guard there.
This is just one of these things of a tempo deck. One specific turn can really change how things look, especially with Eleanor, especially with all of these evasive cards. Ooh. One little turn, we're able to build up a board, get an Eleanor trigger, and that's what's going to get you back in the game. And Rascal just playing the diary and passing. This is not what Rascal wants to be doing here. Second Eleanor coming down. This is starting to be a little bit crazy here. And then we're going to get another 3 lore plus 2 more from the Eleanor. This is what Ben needed exactly. That turn, that Horseman Strikes with the his Thunderbolt into a second Eleanor. We have flipped this game entirely.
Yeah, and this is going to get so many cards for Ben that even if this board gets answered, which it's not because we're still quite a few turns away from the Raging Storm, this is just looking very grim for Rascal all of a sudden, when he was looking very, very strong, and not having a Gaston or anything to do on that post-Augustine turn is just, Meanwhile, Ben putting on the strongest turns possible. Rascal just having to play a diary and pass is just not going to be what you want to be doing in Lorcana at this state. And passing back to Ben with 2 Eleanors still on the board, that is just going to be all she wrote. And this game is going to be wrapped up in the next turn or so, Franz.
Yeah, we are not going to 8 ink next turn. So regardless of what happens, we can just build a bit more of a board. We're questing for 4 plus the 2 Eleanor triggers. We're going to 17, and we don't even need to really push the cards on board that much, and all of a sudden these Eleanors, I believe, have drawn 5 cards overall. So that is just absolutely insane. So we're going to 17. We know that the Augustine and the Scrooge can take out 2 characters, but we have another Thunderbolt. So we're taking out the Augustine. No, we're taking out the Scrooge. Actually, a much better play. I don't know what I was thinking. Because
Augustine's always nice, but he has shown he does not have a Gaston, and the Scrooge can take out the Horseman. So might as well take out the Scrooge there and force him to have the Gaston. But even if he does have the Gaston, it's just going to take him his full turn, and then you win.
Actually, we can just do both here anyway, because we have Angel plus 2 more Eleanor procs. We have everything. We have everything we need here. And again, we're not going to 8 ink, so Ben can play an extra 1-drop without a care in the world, take out the Augustine, and essentially just wrap up this game.
Yeah, and Rascal says, Scoop him on up. We're going to game 3, and this one is going to be for, as they say, all the marbles. Lords of Lore versus the Loungers with Rascal on the play. Who will take match 1 in this final game?
Yeah, that was just a really interesting game where new cards from the green steel deck came out and really made an impression. That Headless Horseman coming down, not being able to be threatened by the Augustine. Two very critical He Hurled His Thunderbolts came down. Shout out to Justice and Attack for Two who keep telling me that card is bad, but I refuse to listen. That card is not bad. I refuse.
Yeah. And how is your leg doing, buddy? I know you've hurt a little back there, and
we're almost getting back there. We're walking about, I would say, 90% normal. We can get a decent amount of weight on it. I'm not able to really move more. I can't really walk on the machines right now, and I can't jump yet. But every day feels a little bit better. Every day feels a little bit less tight. So we're feeling pretty good. The boot is no longer. The cane is no longer. I'm able to walk pretty well. But thank you for asking about that.
And do you know who else is feeling good? Is Rascal, because he will be on the play for this game, and that will allow him to get to Raging Storm a bit faster, albeit with one less card, which means he is going to need that diary early on in order to get enough cards to get to that Raging Storm. But that is going to be his game plan. Have a Horseman Strike, have a Red Alert, and then have a diary and just continuously draw until we can safely play that Raging Storm while not letting Ben spiral out of control with Eleanor's once again.
And for this green steel deck, being on the draw does unlock a little bit of an extra niche of this deck, which is the underdogs. There's a lot of underdog ratios in this green steel deck, both Judy and White Rabbit sometimes. So usually we'll see a few White Rabbits. Sometimes we'll see Judy in there as well. Sometimes we'll see both. But that being able to put down those underdogs, and in this case, being able to put down a White Rabbit to start threatening Rascal with evasive characters will make that turn 3 Horseman Strikes a lot worse because there won't be as many targets.
Yep, agreed. And you just really don't want to spend a whole Horseman Strike turn to take out the 1-cost turn from Ben. And so it hurts because that White Rabbit is probably going to get 4 to 5 lore easily.
We do have the Hercules coming down. We will see what direction Ben's deck will turn. There are about 3 different plays on this turn that could really dictate where Ben's going to go in the first 3 or 4 turns. And as a tempo deck, the first 3 to 4 turns are probably the most important.
Yep, and that Queen going to the Inkwell, and we are going to play the Darkwing Duck.
That Darkwing Duck is able to unlock a turn 2 terror that flaps. So a potential Scrooge coming down here is threatened by a 2-cost action, and that's not where Rascal wants to be.
And the other side of it, though, is if Rascal does play the Scrooge and Ben does counter with that Terror Flaps, he's not developing a strong board presence, and then Rascal is going to be able to still play the Webby's Diary and have that Herc out and continue to draw a card. But he does not have to drop. He is just going to opt to boost the Hercules and pass. And so the Terror That Flaps in the Night will be able to answer this Hercules as well.
That would be very scary on Ben's side, being able to take out that 1-drop and then quest freely. But we'll see what happens. We do have the Terror. We're able to take out the boost Hercules. A diary is lost to the discard, and then we get a free quest from Darkwing Duck. This is starting to become a little bit wary, especially because we know that this green steel deck plays a ton of 2s and 1s. So next turn, it's very possible that we'll see a potential launch pad plus a 1-drop. That 1-drop might be a Pegasus, might be another Darkwing Duck, might be just a Todd.
And he does luckily have another one. Otherwise, that one going to the discard from the boost to Hercules would have been devastating. We are going to see that Max Goof go straight to the Inkwell and play a Darkwing Duck, but no characters to put the damage counter on. And so we are just going to take our quest and go to 2 lore for Ben and pass over to Rascal, who is going to continue to inch ever closer to Raging Storm by deciding what he wants to ink here and then continue to play his turn. He is going to ink the Red Alert, which is going to be scary going into a potential Eleanor turn. And he is going to play the Hercules, boosting it and drawing a card with that Webby's Diary. A good turn to get him back into this game.
Now that was a pretty telling turn. If I'm sitting across from Rascal, we're getting rid of a removal spell and playing a 1-drop that is playing a boosted card that's not Scrooge is not super ideal for what Rascal wanted to do. It's telling me that the hand is pretty full of uninkables. No Scrooge is in there. We might not have another diary. It's getting a little bit weird. And especially, I know that we probably are not having another boosted character unless it's another Hercules. So potentially getting rid of this Hercules with a potential Strength of a Raging Fire could really turn off Rascal's ability to start getting more card draw. We see another Red Alert go to the discard. That's another removal spell. And if Rascal's holding any Horseman Strikes, there are no evasive characters on the board.
Yeah, and Ben just doesn't have a lot of lore pressure, luckily for Rascal. That is the one good thing going on here, but he does have another Red Alert, and we are going to use it to take out that Angel.
So this is interesting. We've seen, I believe that would be the third Red Alert now that has been used. So any Eleanor is much more likely to stick on the board.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to be very, very safe once they get played because we're, again, the most important thing, that Raging Storm turn, and we're still a couple turns away. Did Rascal ink the last turn?
1, 2, 3.
He's at 5.
So last turn they inked, played a Hercules, boosted and drew. So that'd be what? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So they would have inked last turn. Yes.
Yep. He did ink, and then I first counted 4, but then I recounted and saw 5, and so yes, he did ink. And so we are going to play the Max Goof, getting back that Strength of Raging Fire, which is going to threaten anything that Rascal plays, while Ben has a nice big board here, and these Darkwing Ducks are going to continue to get Ben that lore, going up to 5 and slowly inching him closer to 20, about 25% of the way there at this point. And Rascal is going to play the Horseman Strike just to draw a card, showcasing he probably has multiple, or his hand is just not that good. And there we see both of those are the correct answer.
Yeah, just no evasives coming down from Ben means those Horseman Strikes are just doing nothing. We're getting another free turn from Ben here. And here comes the Eleanor with 3 Red Alerts down, and we're still only at 6 ink. So unless we have another Red Alert, or if we do not have another Red Alert, then we're getting at least 2 turns at this Eleanor, and that is scary.
Yeah. And the lore is going up, and Ben's hand is feeling very healthy as well. And Rascal is running out of time to really do anything and answer it. He's going to play
third Horseman
Strikes, and that is just not how the deck wants to be drawing the cards. He is going to be showcasing that all he's got left, Franz, is that Raging Storm next turn. So Ben's going to probably just quest with everything and likely pass or maybe ink something. But he is going to play the Ursula. Just check to make sure that Raging Storm is there. We do see it. He would love to not have to play or ink this he would love to not have to ink this Olaf so he can save it to lower Ben's lore a little bit. But these 2 Raging Storms is going to be exactly what Rascal wants in this situation, because it's going to stop next turn and the follow-up turn. But Ben's hand size is going to be about 4 cards at this point, 5 cards maybe.
Yeah, we're going to 14. Ben has, I believe, 4 cards in hand. We do know one of them, I believe it's 5 actually. We do know one of them is a Strength of Raging Fire, but now Ben is playing with that perfect information. We know that we have 2 Raging Storms and an Olaf, so we know exactly what we need to do to get to 20 lore. We have 12 if that Olaf comes down. We do have a second Raging Storm, so we want to be able to threaten a little bit of lore, but without forcing out that Raging Storm, potentially forcing Rascal to play the Olaf next turn, and then forcing another Raging Storm to remove that Olaf.
Yeah, I really like inking the Counting House instead of the Olaf here, and just making sure that we can use that diary. So we just need time on our end to continue to draw our cards and get back into this game, because we have that Raging Storm that's going to be able to answer the board once more. And so Ben smartly just playing a couple 1-drops here. It's not going to be a ton that Rascal has to deal with, but it is going to be enough pressure. And at 14 lore, every lore matters here. So he's just going to opt to save as much resources as he can while threatening a decent chunk to get him closer to 20. And Rascal is going to do exactly what you said, play that Olaf, and we took way too much lore there, so noticed it very quickly, and we do go to 12.
I think what happened was both players went to decrease the lore, and both hit 2, so it went down 4 instead of 2.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, this is exactly what I was saying with Ben here. Getting some lore threats on the board while also not threatening a ton, waiting for that Raging Storm. And here we have the Todd and Cooper here. So this Olaf cannot take any more lore from our board. We are threatening to 15 here. And if a Raging Storm comes down, then the Olaf goes as well.
And this is really, really just a heads up play from Ben, because with the Todd, with questing, the Olaf was going to be able to answer that, and so he would have had to develop a few more characters to get much more lore. But now that he's shifting, it's going to protect that original Todd, and he's going to be threatening 3 lore now, and this is probably going to force Rascal to have to Raging Storm.
Yeah, and Raging Storm here with very little cards. We did have to get rid of the Counting House. We don't have many options for boosted characters right now. We can't get the card advantage back up, so we're relying on the top of the deck for the next turn or two to really get us through the onslaught of the 4 more cards in Fear Freak's hand. One of them is still a Raging Fire, a Strength of Raging Fire, but 3 of those could be any amount of characters. And you know as well as I do that this deck plays a lot of small characters. We can play on 4 ink. We can threaten 3 to 4 lore with just that 4 ink.
And we are going to actually play the Stitch. Now, this is very dangerous territory because our characters can't answer anything from Ben. Ben's going to go to 18 lore, and then we're going to have to play another character to get value from the Stitch, and likely also play the Raging Storm. And so, this is a tough position to be in if you're Rascal Adams.
I would also say this is tough. Fear Freak Ben shifted that card expecting the Raging Storm to come down, and here we get to go to 18. This is getting very dangerous from Rascal. Maybe they're hoping for another Olaf. Maybe they have something else up their sleeve that drains some lore, but this is very difficult indeed. Ben can play this pretty slowly too, putting out just a little bit of lore, maybe a 1-drop, maybe a 2, maybe another Ursula, and then essentially forcing the Raging Storm, and that Surfer Stitch only really amounting to questing for 2.
Yeah, I don't really think we even need to play anything because we're just threatening game on board right now. And so we're just going to continue to keep our hand healthy and set up and make sure that we have a clean, good response to that Raging Storm. We still have 5 cards in hand. So Rascal's going to need a absolute miracle for turn after turn to stay in this game, because this is just a tough spot because you developed a decent board here, but you have to Raging Storm to not lose.
It is possible. I believe we've seen 3 Horseman Strike and 3 Red Alert. So it's very possible with one of those, maybe a Maleficent Dragon, to come down and stop Ben from going to 20 lore here. However, if you do those, you're just delaying and you're building up your own board and you're making your Raging Storm feel worse and worse yourself.
Yeah.
It is a very tough position here. Very heads up play by Ben, recognizing the situation, not overextending into the board wipe. Absolutely fantastic play.
Yeah, and this reminds me of a lot of the old aggro style decks where sometimes it's better to just not play a character, get your hand up, so then you can play multiple characters on the following turn to make sure that they can't answer everything. Because a lot of decks can answer 1 character or 2 characters very well, but if you play 3 in a turn, not many decks can answer that except this one with the Raging Storm. And so he's running low on resources. We haven't drawn many cards with that diary. We've taken so many turns off and just let Ben able to just run wild. And we're going to actually opt to play this Augustine Madrigal so we can get a draw off the Stitch. But I don't know what's left in the deck besides the Horseman Strikes and the
Rascal Rascal has to have a Horseman Strikes or a Red Alert here, or else they gave up getting another turn in the game, maybe for hoping to draw another one.
And that is going to be all she wrote, I think.
Yeah, it looks like Rascal did decide to just go for potentially getting a Horseman Strikes or a Red Alert off the top of the deck with the Stitch. But again, we know that at least 3 Strike and 3 Red Alert were out. It's so it looks like he has that 2 cost action as well. that gives, I believe, one of your characters +1 lore and evasive.
Gotcha. Okay. And this was a good situation where he was playing to still win the game, even though he had a way to survive this turn with the Raging Storm. He felt that that doesn't allow him to win the game at all. And this puts him in a position where if he draws a good card off that Stitch and can take out that Todd in copper, he can draw another card the following turn off that Stitch, and maybe that's enough resources to get back in the game. Unfortunately, this was not his day, and fortunately for Ben, it is his day, and the Loungers are going to take round 1 over the Lords of Lore.
Yeah, what a wonderful set of games that we've witnessed today. We saw the first match, the person who was on the play lose, and then we saw in game 3 again the same thing. We didn't see the same thing. We saw a person on the play in game 1 lose, but Ben was able to come through in those games 2 and 3 and show what this tempo green steel deck is all about, and do it without the touch the sky combo that has been the talk of the town with this deck. Very interesting deck, very interesting play from Ben, and especially because there were multiple times, especially in that game 2, that looked a little bit dicey.
Yeah, that game 2 was decided just on that dominating turn with the Headless Horseman Bodyguard into the Eleanor, into the Zeus, which just put him in a spot where he wasn't really doing much. Eleanor was not likely to be able to get her ability off, but then all of a sudden, we're taking out the board, answering everything, and because we can use that Eleanor, now we take out the Liquidator as well. So the Headless Horseman can't be answered. It was just everything came together at the exact right turn for Ben, and then that was kind of the pivotal point in this match and allowed Ben to take that victory, because without that turn going pretty much that way, I think Rascal might have taken that game.
Yeah, just absolutely fantastic. And hopefully we get Ben in here in just a moment to get his thoughts on the match and the first. All right, the link is sent, and hopefully Ben finds it soon. But yeah, J-Bomb, specifically, how are you feeling about this format right now? It's been a few weeks since the release. We've had a few CCQs. What's going on in that old head of yours going into this season where you are preparing for a very large tournament?
Yeah, well, it is definitely not what we're at a year ago, where we were used to seeing a lot of blur premieres. And so if you're a fan of the game and watching a bunch of diverse decks and a diverse meta, this is a very, very good format for you. The one downside, I think, is just how strong Amber Emerald has been in the ICL so far. And so it's just, there's so many different versions. So in previous ICL formats, you could prepare and say, hey, we know that this is the best deck, so we can make a counter for it. But here, everyone's going to bring Amber Emerald, but you don't know what version they're going to bring. Are they going to bring Control? Are they going to bring Aggro? So it's just very hard to counter the best deck. And so it's quite interesting in that sense, and it adds almost another layer of the pregame on what you're trying to build and prepare. And so I love the gamesmanship that it's been adding. And as a viewer and a caster, it has been just a lovely format to see so far.
All right, looking in, I believe we have Mr. Ben Fearfreak himself coming in just a second. Ben! Whoa!
Hey.
What a match, man. First you sit down and you flex on me once again, as you always do. You flex on me every time I see you. Tell me what's going through your head going into the match, losing game 1 and then going into a game 2 where it feels like you're on the back foot immediately as well.
Yeah. Honestly, I got a little greedy being on the play. Had no 1-drops, no 2-drops. Should have probably thrown all 7 back. But with this list today, running an extra 4, running 12 1-drops, I was like, I'll gamble a little bit, because if I get 1, especially if it's Todd, obviously my hand's golden. But,
for sure, yeah.
Just had to not kick myself, really, because I screwed up, but try and get there. It's not a great matchup, but it's one I played a lot too. So
yeah,
it helps also. His second game, just me coming out of the gates and him just having an awkward hand too.
Yeah.
Really, game 3 was really our only real game, it felt like, where we both actually got the cards we needed to play the game.
Gotcha. I think actually in game 2 was the closer one, because game 3 he just inked past, but in game 2 was the one where I thought Rascal was leading you in the early game, and then you had this really pivotal turn where you played the Horseman and the Zeus, and then took out the Liquidator. And I thought you were in a very losing position before that. And then that turn was just absolutely explosive because it allowed you to get that Eleanor off, which then took out the Liquidator, which means the Horseman couldn't be answered. And then all he's left with was an Augustin, and he had to just ink past there.
Yeah,
it was a crazy turn.
That was such an insane turn. Yeah, like it's been one of those discussions for a long time about playing bodyguards or not, and that's I think people see like that's one of the like clutch things that can happen, because being able to activate when more often than not you're not going to be like they're not going to expect the Eleanor there, and being able to come out of gates, especially with a 4/4 right now, like that can be it's so hard to deal with, and it's so hard to not just lose going into it. It's usually a 2-for-1 or really rough the character that they have to throw in there to take care of it. But yeah, being able to activate the Eleanor there too was awesome. Obviously you guys can't see my hand in this format, but like I did have that from the start. That's why I played that weird sequence that probably looked a little goofy going in until I could get it out there, because it's one of those things that you can't count on them having. You can't expect them to have it, and that's the only way it really works.
Absolutely amazing. And me having a little bit of insider knowledge, I know that earlier today you were agonizing about which version of this green steel deck that you were going to choose. Are you going to choose the traditional touch the sky location build, or are you going to try out the new and fancy jazzy Darkwing Duck build with the terror that flaps and these launch pads? You didn't get to do much launch padding, but we did get some pivotal terror that flaps. We had the even in that game too, where we were able to get rid of the Liquidator because we had already played a Darkwing Duck to deal a damage to that Liquidator. To give me your thoughts specifically on like what the process was that led to you choosing to switch from the classic deck to the new version, and how do you think it fares more in this current landscape?
So I tried it when the Loungers first were talking about it before Gen Con, like over a week ago, feels like forever ago, and it didn't feel right. I think a lot of it was just the matchups I was playing at that couple of days I tried it, but today I'm like, I should try it again. Everyone's talking about it a lot, and honestly right now I feel like the extra removal slots and the extra 1-drops, I think that makes such a huge difference. We get those explosive starts that you can't have, and yeah, that the number of times today that 3-drop Darkwing doing that 1 extra damage and being a 2/5 made the difference. I think it's the right way to go right now with the meta as it is. Obviously if things change, that may change too, but
and tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's do some shout outs too while we're at it.
So I shout outs first. Well, we'll list the Loungers first, obviously. I wouldn't be here without them. They have helped me a lot. Brian Cortade is a local here, so meeting him, having this community in general be so amazing and welcoming to families. My 8-year-old son Henry, which most of you guys have met at different DLCs or whatnot, plays. My wife plays this game, so
that's awesome.
There is not another card game out there that could include my 8-year-old, me, and my wife. And if that weren't the case, she wouldn't be letting me play. So definitely shout out to Nichelle also, and the community for just being so amazing with children in general. Like, people are welcoming, they're helpful, they're friendly. I am an older person. We'll say I've left my 30s behind already. So their Fungus winning the DLC was kind of cool to have somebody that is not 27 or 23 winning. Was kind of inspirational in a way too. But yeah, I'm still relatively new to this game. Honestly, the Loungers have been huge in helping anyone that is willing to put work in to grow.
Heck yeah, man. You may be new to this game. You may be new to a little bit of competitive TCGs, but you are the first winner for the Lounge in this new season of ICL. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to the Loungers. Go celebrate with the boys, with your wife, with your child, and I will see you tomorrow for Lounge League.
Have a good night. See you guys.
See ya. Thank you. Yeah, and I can't remember if is Fungus or Wonderland older, because those are, I think, the 2 oldest DLC winners to this point.
It's real. I believe I would guess fungus by a little bit.
I think it's Luke, but I don't know. Well, I'll have to figure this out. This is gonna be my homework for the weekend.
Luke's hair just gives the sheen of just slightly younger than fungus.
Yeah, my wife thinks his name is Gandalf based on the hair. So
I mean, hey,
yeah.
I support it. But let's see. I believe we are looking to see if there are any other matches happening right now. It seems like there is not. So it looks like we're going to be closing it out here in just a little bit. J-Bomb, I know you are here just for a little bit of time today, but any shout outs for you? Anything specific that you want to say to the people?
Yeah, I'm going to go as quick as possible because there is a ticking time bomb where when the garage door opens, my dog is going to go nuts and the garage door is going to open any moment. So we got Meta Market here where we do a lot of free guides and help your knowledge at the beginning of the format and during the format. So we're going to be sending out a couple more guides here before this set's end. So be on the lookout for those. And tune into Alter Academy. Most Fridays, we took last Friday off. This week, we are going to be showing El Rathian on Ruby Amethyst with his deck that he qualified for Continentals with. So tune in Friday at 1:30 when that episode will premiere. And then shout out to World Class Cards for making this all possible for me and helping get me to as many events as I can get and being a great testing community. And then, of course, you guys, the Loungers, who are just a great community and place to be and hang out. There's a bunch of people playing, and that is my cue. So the time bomb is off.
Right. Goodbye, J-Bomb. I hope your dogs are having a good time. And for me, I will give a last shout out to the Loungers again for this 2-1 victory. Obviously, everyone on this team is putting in a ton of work. We're seeing a lot of first-time ICL players for the Lounge and the Lazy Boys. Really cool to see a lot of these new players take a step forward in their competitive journey and put themselves out there in the community to really start to make a name for themselves. Obviously, shout out to the ICL staff, all the judges, Rod, Luke, even the social media team. Everyone's doing a fantastic job with the ICL. I think it's one of the coolest projects that I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and really cool to get some opportunity to commentate. I feel like I'm really starting to grow into a better player by just watching people and talking through plays. So I'm very thankful to them, and I'm thankful for all of you out there watching, because you guys make this feasible for us to do and shows that there is people that want to watch it. So thankful for you guys too, and I hope that everyone has a good night.
Good night, everybody. We will see you all next week for a wonderful time here at the ICL.
Bye.
Oh.